Hello?
Man, where are you? This wedding is lit. I thought you were coming.
Ooh, I can't. I'm in bed with the flu.
The flu? You didn't get a flu shot?
I wish I did. I can't believe I'm missing out on Greg's wedding.
Whoa. Grandma's about to crowd surf.
Grandma's about to what? What?
Man, I'll call you back.
Oh, man.
Sounds like another case of flu FOMO. Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is safe, effective, and you can get it at the same time as your COVID-19 vaccine. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. It keeps you protected and also protects your loved ones. Protecting our community can't wait. So why get stuck inside with the flu? Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
From the 1-800-HURT-NOW Traffic Center. Hurt in a car? Call KNR.
Brought to you by Home Genius Exteriors, the genius choice in roofing, siding, and exterior solutions you can trust.
Call Home Genius Exteriors now during our summer savings event and get 50% off materials for your new roof. Plus 0% APR and no payments till 2027. Call Home Genius Exteriors at 855-UR-GENIUS. See website for details.
Any overnight construction should be cleared out pretty soon, if not already, and your drive to downtown Cleveland will hopefully be a little less eventful with a little less involvement from Mother Nature, unlike yesterday. Jeff Thomas, Odyssey Cleveland Traffic.
Broadcasting from the 92.3 The Fan Studios, fueled by True North Convenience Stores. The Browns preseason kicks off Saturday against the Bears.
Touchdown!
Kickoff Saturday at 1. We're your home for complete Browns coverage all year long. WKRK-FM and HD1 Cleveland Heights. This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, what a catch!
We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. An Odyssey Sports Station.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
Well, the Browns released their unofficial depth chart for Saturday's preseason opener in Chicago. However, nothing revealed when it comes to the quarterback competition. The first-team quarterback was listed as Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. Head coach Todd Monken, what he wants to see from the QBs, no matter who it is under center.
Got to learn to get the ball out. Got to learn how to slide, right? Not going to be able to just run around. I do want playmaking ability, so there is a balance there between playmaking ability and taking some sacks. You're going to have to live with that to an extent. The other part is stacking plays where it matters, because they got the scoreboard on in terms of points you put on the board.
Now, one is expected to start against the Bears. The other will then get the start the following week against the Bills. That's the plan for now. Rookie receivers Denzel Boston and KC Concepcion listed as starters, along with veteran Jerry Jeudy. Browns going to do their final practice before the preseason opener Saturday in Chicago. Today, also the final practice open to fans in Berea. Maybe you'll find out today who the starting QB will be against the Bears. Coming up in the 12 o'clock hour, we will hear from some players. Then 12:50, head coach Todd Monken live right here on 92.3 The Fan. Guardians fall to the Tigers 6-4 last night. Tanner Bybee, 6 in the third innings, giving up 6 runs, 5 earned on 5 hits. Guardians dropped their third straight. Chase DeLauder had 3 hits, including a solo home run. Joe Adell had a solo blast as well. He drove in 2. However, as a team, the Guardians 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position and left 11 runners on base. Guardians a game and a half behind the Tigers for second place in the AL Central following last night's loss. However, Guardians got some help elsewhere in the Central race. The first place White Sox lost in 10 to the Reds 5-4, so Cleveland still 4 games in back of Chicago. Also, the Twins lost to Baltimore 5-2, thus the Guards remain a half game behind Minnesota for third place. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next time with the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
The Afternoon Drive.
What's interesting is there's nobody that believes in Shedeur and Deshaun. This is very much an or conversation.
Oh, that is interesting.
It seems like everybody before a snap was taken in camp, everyone is either taken a pro Deshaun, which means you're anti-Shedeur, or vice versa.
This is what makes it so fun, though. It's like rooting for teams, almost. There's a game that's happening here. The game is Team Shedeur versus Team Watson. Everyone's chose a side, and there's a daily scoreboard, and we get to keep track of who actually wins this thing. And by the way, if Team Shedeur loses, then we get to go ahead and just say the game was rigged.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
Travis Bazzana's last at bat, he just missed. He sent James Outman to the base of the wall in deep right field. Tiger fans are on their feet here at Comerica. Right to the second baseman. The Tigers win it. 6-4 is the final score. And the Guardians' slide continues. They have lost 14 times in the last 18 games and are now a season worst 4 games under 500 at 58 and 62. It's the first time this year they have lost to the Tigers.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy of Guardians TV. Are we putting a lid on this season?
Not looking good. I was getting the text last night from very, very concerned, locked in. These are the all-in fans saying, it's over. Are you guys going to talk about it being over? This team has no chance.
They want us to talk about the season being over?
Yes.
216-474-0092. Should we be saying the season's over? I'm a little afraid to say the season's over for a couple of reasons. I mean, they did come back from 15 down last year. Now, that was last year, not this year.
But we all thought the season was over much earlier in the season last year.
But the guy who didn't, and hey, when I say this, I do mean total respect to you. When I say this in there. When he was like, "Oh, the season's not over," like, "Oh, that's cute. Somebody's got to stick up for him." So like, Owen first said, I was like, "All right." I mean, somebody's got to stick up for the team. That's cool. He ended up being right. It is right as rain. Put it on his casket or his tombstone. Can't put it on his casket. No one will see it. Put it on his tombstone. But I mean, Owen's the first one saying, "Nah, I ain't doing that this year." And I'm going, well. But they came back from 15 down. That was last year, though.
Yeah, last year at this time, we were 6.5 games back.
But we were streaking.
Of Detroit, but we were also 5 games above 500. Funny thing is, offensively, some of their numbers are better than last year.
This is bad. It's not good. I told you, the trade deadline was
last Tuesday.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
And I think they've won 1 game since the trade deadline, since they restocked.
Unfortunately, everybody else in the division is kind of
if we're going to do they have a chance? Yeah, they're still only 4 games out of the division. They've been horrible. Well, so have the White Sox. And it looks like right now the Tigers, who sold Tarek Skubal, are going to be the ones that end up. They're the hot team right now in the division.
Holy wow.
And we are 2 games back of the wild card right now and in 4th place in the division.
I'm not ready to give up on the season yet. Maybe ask me in the morning. I'm not sure. I'm not ready to give up on the season just yet. Are you ready to give up on the season yet?
I am hesitant.
We're all hesitant because of last year. That's why.
Not just that. Again, not a huge believer in any of these teams in the division. So you will always have that ability to still hang around, but you got to get turned around immediately. You've got the bullpen issues, and as much as Stephen Kwan has completely rescued his season from hell, Jose Ramirez is having the season from hell. Has he had a worse season?
It's a rough start. The injuries are there. I think he's trying to play through the injuries. I mean, last week that stuff about he's got wrist inflammation, and he'll be okay. I'm like, Willie?
Yeah, I saw people again speculating yesterday he might be going back to the DL.
He came back very quickly, and he probably came back a little too quickly, and it bothers it. You know, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't if you're him. If you wait, like I think he knows, if you wait too long, like the season could be done. If you come back too early, it could affect your season health. Now, because I think he's probably thinking, I got a long off season. It'll rest in the offseason. It's August. We got to get going here. I got to get back. Like, I think that's probably what he's thinking, Tone. Do you disagree or agree with that? Okay. So if it's not, like, he must be thinking, if it's not going to get any worse, like, do they remove the bone? Is that what they do? Is that what they?
Hamate?
The Hamadi?
Sure.
I thought they, like, removed it or something.
Well, then he's out of them.
I'm no doctor. Yeah, because he had it on the other one.
Correct.
So he might just be thinking, well, it ain't going to make any damn bit of difference, so I might as well just go right on ahead and play because I can't hurt it twice because there ain't no more left. So I understand him coming back, but it serves to the brutality of the season of what it's been to him because he's clearly not himself. And I think that he'll press because he's trying to keep this team's head. Well, they're underwater. I mean, they're 4 games under 500. They're underwater, but he's trying to keep them some sort of in the hunt because you are only 4 games back. Some way, somehow, you're only 4 games back. So I don't want to say it's over yet because you got the starting pitching. If you could just wake up the bats and somehow put some sort of balm on the bullpen, you'll be okay. So I'm asking, do you guys think that we should be saying the season's over? They're 2-8 over their last 10. At one point, we were right back even with the run differential. That is sunk now to minus 29. The diff is not in our favor.
Yeah, and in years past, as much as we made fun of the term guards ball, that seems to have been vanquished. This is not a guards ball team, and what I mean by that is they're not manufacturing runs. They were 0 for 9 again last night, runners in scoring position. They're one of the least clutch teams in Major League Baseball by the advanced numbers. They don't do any of those little things that we had kind of mocked them for doing, looking back, maybe we shouldn't have mocked them for doing it. Because what is fans want to see, real legitimate, put the ball over the fence, home run, slugging, all that. And we would make fun of the team when they were stealing bases and bunting and just finding a way to get runs home, plating runs by any which necessary. Well, this team doesn't do that. They don't do any of those little things. And so what is their identity? What is the one thing this team can hang their hats on right now?
Well, they exist. They open up the ballpark, and then after the game, they close up the ballpark, and we have fireworks afterwards, right? I mean, that's what it is. Because I think the identity is, by the way, Dr. Britton had texted us that they remove the hook in the bone, not the whole bone.
Okay.
So maybe you can't hurt the hook twice? I don't know. I ain't no hand doctor. Clearly.
Are you Dr. Hook?
I've played Operation, but I've never...
He put up his fingers as if he was Chris Elliott back in the day.
His strong hand?
You know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of the part in Kingpin when she goes, "Hey, Captain Hook!" That's what I was thinking of. Sorry. When I did the finger, I thought of the landlady. Yeah. And Woody Harrelson, one of my all-time favorite actors. Anyway, I think everybody's thinking it. I just think nobody wants to say it because of last year.
Right.
And because of the division that they're in.
You don't want to be wrong.
Exactly.
You don't want to give up.
Well, because...
But I have no problem being wrong.
You know very well, they're mighty sensitive over there. They are. All right? They love to play that one.
Somebody's coming in tomorrow.
Who? He's not very sensitive.
No, he's good.
But
he's fine.
Have they earned...
But they love
Have they earned the right to be sensitive? They're the one team in town that you can never count out.
I understand that, but that's not earning the right to be sensitive. I just think that they look at it. I think they really should look at it why respond to all that? I remember a couple years ago, well, this is a long time ago, Dustin had said the season was over and that they blew him up. The team account blew him up, for crying out loud. And I'm a little bit hesitant because I don't want Kate Smith's dad coming after me because, he's been the one who's been the Indians and Guardians fan for 40 years. I forgot. He's been the one who was born and raised here as an Indians and Guardians fan. I didn't realize that. Sorry, I overstepped my.
Are you sure he wasn't just having some fun?
I don't know. I got it sent. It's protected. I got it sent to me a bunch of times, so I'm not allowed to be disappointed in the team that's 2-8 over their last 10. Sorry. Won't be the first. Won't be the last dad to get upset. Anywho,
what is it just as easy as something like, all right, this team is completely different from the team that started the year. They're so young, and Jose stinks this year. He's having a career worst year.
It's a bad year.
And it doesn't feel like the relief staff is the shutdown that it had been.
Well, at the beginning of the year,
I think that's the biggest thing for me, at least. It doesn't feel like let's get to the 6th with a one-run lead and the game's over.
Who do you really feel confident with in the bullpen? Who do you all right, other than Kate Smith, oddly enough, who do you really feel comfortable with in the bullpen other than your closer? It's I got to get to my closer.
It was Holderman, right?
Yeah.
Felt really good about him.
I loved Hunter Gaddis. That's kind of it's not
Taryn.
Yeah.
And then what has gone on? Matt Festa's no.
He's
No.
He's the one that he's the next sights. We got Gabe Arias out of here, and the sights are on him now.
Well, at least you didn't have to say that you liked Matt Festus. So, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that one. I'm going to put the safety on that one. Yeah, I'm not going to put his. He's working right now over at another place. I don't want to put his business out there. That poor kid. All right, Tommy in Independence. You're first up with the Fan. Hello, Tommy.
What's up, boys? Good morning.
Morning to you, Tommy. All right, should we be saying it's over?
I don't think so.
All right, Tommy. All right, he's with us still. All right, go ahead. Why?
2 reasons. One, our division stinks, and they keep losing. Obviously, other teams keep losing. So I think we still have a shot. 2, I think that they have the pedigree still from last year. I think it's still in them to try to come back. But 2 caveats. One, I don't think that our starting pitching is I think they're getting tired. I really do. I think there's a few holes starting to creep in right now. And then the other thing too, like we've had like basically 1.5 hitters all year, more or less.
Yeah.
Water, who's been pretty much great all year, and Kwan's obviously starting.
Well,
to
that would
around.
tell me that the season's over, though. All those things you're telling me, because when you just said like 1.5 hitters, I'm going, yeah, you know what? Whether they had 10 or 11 rookies up now, it's like, how are you going to have 10 rookies up and say you're going to vie for the division? Like maybe I should have saw that coming, but I was feeling with the good vibes of them bringing up some of these guys and playing well. Yeah, you didn't want to be a downer, but honestly, maybe I was fooled because I didn't even think about it, Tommy.
Yeah, I still think that there's something left in them. One, obviously, because the division's so bad, and then 2, I just still think that Vogt could somehow, some way get the best out of these guys just because of last year. I still think they have the pedigree, but, however, it is basically mid-August, and if they don't get it going within the next week or so, I think they're out of it. But that's all I wanted to say. You boys have a good morning.
Tommy, you too. Thank you very much for the call. So Tommy's not done yet. Thank goodness somebody's not done, because there's a lot of people. Apparently, you're getting texts that say that we should be ripping them and saying that this season's over.
Well, and going after Vogt because, it's so funny. The lineup that you look at right now, and again, it's almost unidentifiable from what we had started the season. We're so excited to get these young guys in the fold, but it's also really hard to rely on something like that for the duration. So many guys like run into a wall. They only play so many games, and now all these guys are well over the amount of games that they're even used to. I mean, DeLauder had all the injuries, so this is like bonus time.
Yeah, it is
for somebody like him. So then when you factor that in, and again back to the Jose situation, which if he is not going to have a chance to be Jose down the last 40, 42 or so games of the year, then all right. Remember, you said yesterday, Kenny, why is Jose? Why are his numbers always so down in the playoffs? Because he's a one-man show.
John asked, and I told John.
Well, yeah, you were explaining it.
Yeah.
And it was because he's been a one-man show in those lineups, and you certainly see come playoff time what you're up against. Like, you might be able to be formidable in a wild card round, but you get to the ALDS, my God, the ALCS, it almost seems like an unfair advantage. Well, if you don't even have that in the fold down the stretch for these games, like your veteran guy who had been an MVP candidate every year in the American League, what do you have?
You got a whole lot of frustration is what you have from the fan base. That's because I looked at Stephen Vogt over the last couple of weeks, getting thrown out. That Sunday game where I thought it was an attempt to get thrown out of the game a couple Sundays ago, but it started raining while he was giving him the business. Then he gets thrown out later in the week. And
I saw some people saying he's not getting his money's worth when he's getting tossed, meaning once he gets tossed, he just kind of walks his way back to the clubhouse. Like, they want to see
Pinella. We want to see a Lou Pinella performance. Okay.
Fans love that stuff anyway.
Yes. I didn't even realize that. I thought just getting thrown out of the game, but there is a performance to it. There is part of that. I'm not going to deny that part. So, okay, I guess we'd have to monitor that, because just getting thrown out of the game. Because I remember last year against the Angels, Jose got hit, and people thought Stephen Vogt should have went out there and really raised hell, and he didn't. And people were saying spineless, gutless, told all sorts of things about the Guardians at that point. And then they went out and they ended up winning the division. It's a different animal. And because of those two outbursts, are you trying things and trying to stoke something that isn't there?
Because, again, you got so many guys that are either new or rookies to your lineup. And it's going to make things, it did make things a little bit difficult. Now, you've brought in some veterans. It was giving us heart. I mean, Joe Adell's what? Has Joe Adell been fine for you? Yeah. So
absolutely.
There's not been anything really nasty to get into that. It's just, man, we went from a week ago almost to the day where this was excitement and, hey, we got a chance here we go, to, I mean, good God, there's people who want us to raise the flag and say it's over now.
Moves-wise, they've done everything they were supposed to keep us happy, except for, win baseball games.
Yeah.
It's just got to win the baseball games. They made moves at the deadline. They got rid of the guy that was booting the ball everywhere and seemed to not care. They brought up a rookie that everybody wanted to see, and he's actually come up and hit the ball well and now. And then they just don't win the games. They just win the games, guys.
Yeah. All right. Coming up, we'll bring this up again later, as sad as it is to say. Coming up at 7:45, your chance to win free Mr. Hero. It's 2-second trivia. You got to answer 2 questions within 2 seconds each. No offense to the players that played at the Crushers game with us back on Friday. Hopefully you'll do better than them. I think that the lights were literally too bright for them in the stadium on Friday. A lot of freezing, a lot of freaking out. At least 2 out of the 3 knew exactly how to play the game. They just froze up because there was people staring at them. Hopefully it'll go much better for you. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we'll go around the AFC North. 9 o'clock, Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports. He's going to join us about these quarterbacks, about this Browns football team. Because I tell you what, there's another guy who you can hate all you want. A lot of people love Ryan Wilson. Great guy. But there's another guy that you can hate all you want, but he made a lot of sense about this quote-unquote quarterback competition. It's coming up in 5 on The Fan.
92.3 The Fan, 2020 Sports.
Well, the Browns released their unofficial depth chart for Saturday's. early, but for the moment, your trek towards downtown Cleveland is looking nice and smooth. Let's hope it stays that way. Jeff Thomas, Odyssey Cleveland traffic.
Headline sports news every 20 minutes from the University Hospital's sports desk. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Back to the Guardians coming up in a bit. Reflog has tweeted at us. Oh, gosh. We're like, we still say no. And he's like, buddy. I'm like, oh, no.
Well, we got some sound you got to hear about the hopes of the season.
Do we have it right now?
I mean, we can do it.
Oh, God. Okay, fine. Okay. Well, all right. This is... You know, when you've lost Reflog, you lost them all. By the way, social media reactions on X are brought to you by who, Owen?
Diamond Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
All right, the Browns aren't going anywhere. Apparently, neither are the Guardians. But we gotta play this audio for you. This is courtesy 97.1 The Ticket up in Detroit. It's our sister station up in Detroit. Here is the legendary voice of your Cleveland Guardians, Hall of Famer Tom Hamilton, on whether or not we're going to see the real Jose Ramirez the rest of the year. Correct? Here he is.
Well, I don't think you're going to see Jose Ramirez that you're used to seeing until next year. Anybody that ever has that broken hamate bone surgery during the season, you don't have enough time to fully recover and get all the strength back in that hand and in the wrist. That's what it's all about for hitters. When they have issues with their hands and wrists, they're just not going to be the same hitter. He's not going to have the same kind of power for the rest of this year. He's just gutting it out. It's a painful injury that he's still playing with. He can't do any further damage, obviously, because that hamate bone is out of there. You won't see the Jose Ramirez that we're used to seeing until next season.
I wouldn't want to shoot the messenger even if it was John telling me the truth, and I'm sure as hell not going to shoot the messenger when it's the all-time legend telling you the truth. This is not good. It's just not a good feeling.
That's as sobering as it gets,
yeah,
right?
We have 42 games left to go in this season. You did the count. It's a sobering thing, and it's difficult to take in. And maybe maybe we're saying no just because I can't believe they made these moves, and I was just so excited last week in that the season's already, quote-unquote, over for a lot of people just a week later. I really can't. And I refuse to almost believe reality. If it's reality, and if you believe that reality, then I'm sorry, everybody. I just refuse to believe it. Maybe it's the same thing as... you think they're coming home, they're not coming home, and somebody just needs to have enough time pass before they accept reality. And maybe that's just what I need to do. Maybe I just need to have enough time pass, and they need to play another bad game, another loss, another problem, and then we have to come in and reevaluate it almost every morning, which it sucks. That's a terrible way to go about it, but I just don't want to believe it. And it's only based on emotions. It is so shocking that you would make Joe Adell's a fine player. Nathaniel Lowe's a fine player. Foster Griffin, who I always want to call Foster Grant. Foster Griffin, yes, I would have rather had him than Luis Castillo. I said all this last week. And a week later, for things to just go to pot in so many ways, it's just too much too soon. And I don't want to believe it because it has been the type of year where, yeah, if I've said they've been an American League title contender, immediately things take a turn. The second you think that this season ain't going very well, they start to have an uptick. It's been a weird year. But there's so many things that when I listen to in talking to you and listening to like the Dairy Brothers, listening to Lotta, listening to just all the people that get in that I know baseball, and hearing the way that they discuss this team, there is reasons why, like, yeah, Kenny, it ain't going where you want it to go. And remember, want and think, they're two different things. We do that all the time with the other situation with the Browns. I can want something to happen, but what I think is going to happen is different. And here we are.
Well, and when I brought up earlier about their identity, when other teams, like let's say we do get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we sneak our way into the playoffs. We finish strong the final, month of the season or whatever. Whoever draws us in the first round, what would they say about the identity of the Guardians? what would a casual or what would even a pretty big fan of a baseball team we were going up against, what would they say? Let's say it was the Boston Red Sox and we matched up with them in the first round. What would their fans say about our team?
I don't know.
They'd mention Jose Ramirez.
True.
But that's not our team this year. They'd mention our bullpen. That's not our team. They'd say, well, they always find a way to manufacture runs. That's not our team. So all the things that we've been living by and sometimes dying by over the years that can be fun but also frustrating, that's not even us this year. And so they got to find that. And yeah, there's still games to do it, but kind of feels like we're running out of time.
216-474-0092. Like I put it out on social media. No, we don't think the season's over, and there you got a lot of people saying, Kenny, you don't want to see the truth here. All right, Gary in Cleveland, am I denying the truth right now?
You're denying the truth because what you're seeing on the corner of Carnegie and Ontario is minor league baseball at its best.
It'd be a very good minor league baseball team, though, Gary. I mean, a lot of those guys were just minor leaguers at the beginning of the year.
That's why you're seeing minor league baseball. You're watching guys that were in the minors trying to play Major League Baseball that aren't ready yet.
Yeah, we've had 10 call-ups, I think. 10 or 11 now? Are we up to 11 now, Owen?
Man.
Thank you very much, Gary.
I get that, but it's been like that for a decade as well.
10 or 11, that seems to be a bit much.
We had 9 or 10 last year or the year before. One of the two vote playoff years, we had a bunch of call-ups as well.
216-474. No, but I'm not going to get in a big fight.
This is not new. This whole guys coming up from the minors that don't have any major league experience.
Well,
it's
then if it's not new and it's been that way, like eventually that type of living has to burn you, doesn't it? If you're right, I'm not going to fight you over how many it is.
It burns you
petty.
when, just like Tom Hamilton said,
when Jose Ramirez gets hurt,
the guys that you don't have to plug in because they are your stalwarts are struggling because of things that. I mean, I'm looking up the hamate bone injury stuff, and it literally says from continued, doing the same pattern, and it's the check swinging and all that. It's something that happens when you swing the bat too much. You can tell Jose to stop swinging the bat.
It is.
And now you don't have to worry about it. He's out of hamates.
Well, I don't have to worry about it next year.
Hamate hooks.
Yeah, this year I got to worry about it.
Well, he ain't going to break it again.
Well, he's not going to break it again, but I still want him to be back to his old self.
No, and as a switch hitter, and even the way he tried to field that caught stealing attempt that had him dead to rights, it was a perfect throw, and that ended up causing more runs. So it looks worse for Bybee and Festa.
216-474-0092. Like now, I'm just kind of wallowing in sadness here because there's just so much that's. I'm just denying the truth of the matter, and I don't want to yet. I just don't want to yet. So we'll bring this up coming up here and again in a little bit, sadly. But we'll go from one situation that's already seemingly at its end to one that might not even get out of the blocks. The Browns are having a quarterback competition. A lot of people are starting to use quote unquote around it. You told me Louis Riddick was tweeting about quarterback competitions and whether or not they're real, and most aren't. Most are not. I do think that this one's probably as open as you're going to find in the NFL. Mike Florio, though, he was on Pro Football Talk yesterday, and he had this to say. And I know a lot of people don't like Mike Florio, and even I've gone around a couple of times with Mike Florio. But here's Mike Florio on what would surprise him when it comes to Shedeur. And he really thinks that this is true. He thinks that Shedeur should win the starting job, if I'm not mistaken, what I was told. This is my first foray into Mike Florio, so here it is.
It would surprise me if they did that, but the fact that Dylan Gabriel, who was a third-round pick, 2 rounds higher than Shedeur Sanders in 2025, seems to be doing well enough to get extra reps, to get positive comments from head coach Todd Monken. Could they decide Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel and move on from Shedeur just because maybe it would be a distraction? He'd want a fresh start. He wants to play. You have Deion Sanders, who's got the bully pulpit in Boulder, Colorado, who could chime in on the situation. I'd still be surprised if Shedeur doesn't win the job. We saw enough from him last year to to create the impression that he deserves a chance to see what his ceiling is. We kind of know what Deshaun Watson's ceiling is, and he's been fighting for 6 years to get back to that ceiling. And the problem is he hasn't played up to that level that we saw in 2020 when he played well enough that even after sitting out for a year, there were 4 different teams that were scrambling to try to trade for him with the Texans. I don't know that they would move on from him, and then you'd have to find somebody who would want him. And it's not like he's going to walk in the door and be a starter. So you're going to be a backup somewhere. You may as well just be a backup with the team that you know, especially because Deshaun Watson's got an injury history. Whoever the number 2 quarterback is in Cleveland, if Watson's the starter, QB2 is probably going to play at some point this year.
Florio is saying the same thing that we said a couple of months ago when we were arguing about this.
Probably going to play while the leaves are starting to fall.
Okay, but this
Yes.
this is the point. The people who love Shedeur and hate Shedeur want the same thing if he's not the starter. They want him traded. And I'm going, what's the market? And if he's going to be a backup somewhere, hello, you might as well make him a backup here, because if we ain't going anywhere, I mean, we all know what this season is. So if we ain't going anywhere, then what the hell's the point?
He has more chance to play way more games here than anywhere else.
Exactly.
I mean, seriously.
So the people who hate him and the people who love him, I know they want the same thing, but it doesn't behoove me to move him on where I don't think that there's a market for him. So it would turn into just cutting him. And where else is he going to go that he gets a better opportunity than here?
Even if the honeymoon is over with Monken because his fans predominantly feel like they were lied to this week when it comes to Todd Monken, even with all that, you have to recognize he's got a great opportunity to play games here. Guys, again, 5th-round picks. Go look at the history of 5th-round picks and how many games they get in the first 2 years of the NFL. He's already way above it.
Not as many as Shedeur gets.
He's already way above it and has a chance to play many more.
You are right about that. Coming up at 7:45, 2-second trivia. And how many of these things actually work out? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. These things, I'll tell you what they are in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Insurance.com.
We had that accident on 480 westbound at the Ridge Road entrance ramp. However, that's now been cleared out, so things will be a little slow there, but better than they were not too long ago. Jeff Thomas, Odyssey Cleveland Traffic.
This is Browns head coach Todd Monken, and you're listening to the #1 sports station in Cleveland, 92.3 The Fan.
So I hope nobody misconstrued something yesterday when I said the honeymoon is over. That's not necessarily a bad thing, guys. It's just eventually we got to get out of being in love with Todd Monken because he's new and old style. And, hey, let's be honest, he was in here for an hour earlier this year. He's a guy's guy.
I was going to ask about a real honeymoon because we didn't do one.
Your honeymoon?
We didn't
well,
do
your
one.
wife was pregnant.
Yeah, but we did.
Did you go on a baby moon thing?
This was more of a baby moon, and we just escaped town.
Whatever.
And said, by the way, we're married. So, Kenny, on your actual honeymoon, when do things start getting real?
Royal Caribbean cruise.
Is it total bliss the entire time, or is there a moment during the honeymoon where you're like, oh yeah, we are going to have to live together and all this? Because back in the day, people didn't really live together before they got married.
Okay. Well, Liz and I we only moved in together in May. We got married in August.
So you were comfortable using the turlet in the suite?
No, I wasn't. Oh. No. I got
in close quarters.
I had to get broken and built back up again. Because honestly, I always thought I was a pretty fastidious man. I didn't realize that there were certain rules here. But I don't. How do I put this? Okay. Any man who has what they consider a successful marriage, any of you guys getting married, let me tell you this. It's 6:40 in the morning. The kids aren't going to school just yet, not until next week. Okay. If you are 10 years past in your marriage, if you're still doing some of the things you did on your honeymoon, awesome. Don't just expect that, though. Things change. Life changes. Bodies changes. There are things that happen on your honeymoon that you don't think people are just going to burst in the room for, where they do burst in the room for, and then you have to explain yourself later on. Don't expect those things. And that's as real as I can be. We've had lots of fun in our early moments with Todd Monken. The honeymoon has been great. The things that you do on the balcony together have been wonderful. And now things got to get real. It's not a bad thing. Guys, it's just life. A marriage is not a 30-year marriage or a 50-year marriage is not a honeymoon every day. You got to work at it. And it's the same thing with Todd Monken.
Bring it around. Here we go.
Let me have some perspective here. The honeymoon is over, and that's fine. Because I had to look at this and go, one of the things that bothered me was that, oh man, he's not working this right. He's not handling this. He's not handling this wonderfully. He's not handling this well. Guys, how many of these things actually work out? How many of these are just the best laid plans and the quarterbacks just aren't good? And I'm not just talking about this year's Browns team. I'm talking about Browns teams in the past. And look around the league. Like, yeah, I'm going to watch the Vikings like a hawk. I think Kevin O'Connell's a very good football coach and a very good quarterback coach, right? But they've made their bed, and they're going to lay in it. And Kyler Murray was one of the guys that we argued about during this. He was never coming here, not a chance. But he was one of the guys that we argued about, right? Fine. Because I could say, it's like, well, make him an offer. He wasn't coming here, and if he does well, fine. But if Kyler Murray sucks and J.J. McCarthy ends up playing and he sucks too, is anybody surprised? Like like Romeo Crennel. I should have thought about this yesterday too. Romeo Crennel, when he quote-unquote flipped the coin. Maybe just the quarterback, you had a nice run there, and you got lucky with Derek Anderson, and then the league had a off-season of tape on him, and learned how to deal with him, and he's more of a one-trick pony than he is a great quarterback. Not that he couldn't have a career. I mean, he draws a pension in the NFL. But I mean, as a franchise quarterback, maybe they're just not that good. Because usually quarterback competitions, it just means that you're going into your next quarterback. Very rarely. Like, I could name it off the top. Like, okay, Joe Montana and Steve Young. That's about where it ends. Is it not? Because everything else in the modern era, because that's a long time ago, Joe Montana and Steve Young, everything else in the modern era, it's like, yeah, One guy ended up being good, and maybe the coach just wasn't ready. Okay, fine, but we did that with a rookie already. Or they're just bad, and we're just biding our time until you go and get another quarterback. Because I'd much rather be in the situation where we have our quarterback set up, and we had him set up back in August or April or back in January because he's coming off the season, than what we're dealing with now. So yes, I can blame Todd Monken because he's the head coach. His name's on the door. He deals with it. But damn, man, like sometimes you can do whatever you want. You can rearrange the chairs as much as you can, and you can beg and plead, and sometimes they just ain't good enough, and we got to deal with that.
You're right.
What do you think's more likely to happen? Is it Todd Monken doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, or these quarterbacks just aren't that great?
Well, the only thing I will say, and I agree with everything you just said, is there is always the hope that if a player is considered developmental, and we cannot lose sight of the fact, despite what even maybe Mel Kiper might have said about Shedeur, he was always a developmental quarterback. And that's nothing personal. There are always guys at different stages of development, depending on where they were, what kind of systems they were in. And let's be honest, I mean, even the biggest Shedeur disciples, like they can look back at the situation he was in Colorado and what they had to do to try to against better competition, try to find points, like some of the gimmicky stuff that was working early on in that first season weren't going to work on. Defensive coordinators were kind of up on a lot of that stuff, and there was tumult there with offensive coordinators. And, Lewis was out, and then Pat Shurmur was in, and then what kind of offense were they going to run? And the offensive line was decimated. And so that wasn't even Shedeur's fault. But that's why, and they didn't like it when Albert Breer said this, but the plan was really not for Shedeur to play, which is hard to ever have that plan in the NFL in the year 2025 last year and even going forward. So maybe the only pushback I would give you, Ken, is maybe Shedeur is not ready right now, and even maybe last year 7 games almost helped develop some bad patterns, right? Maybe some bad habits, and maybe Todd Monken has to break those habits.
Fair.
And let's put it on Stefanski. Let's put it on the coaching staff last year. And I'm saying, for best case scenario, maybe let's let him watch the first month of the season.
I understand.
We all know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. And then Shedeur walks in, the offensive line gels, and now those rookie targets are starting to get more comfortable.
I'm with you. We've been saying this together.
Is that a bad situation?
But I just see it, and it's like, well, like the explanation on Saturday, it was a wild thing, okay? I think he's trying to make it as equitable as he possibly can. But just be honest here. Would it surprise anybody if the whole quarterback room wasn't very good at the end of the year? Is that not the most likely outcome? So I might be busting Todd Monken's balls up and down all day long, but I mean, he's the head coach. He gets the paycheck. I guess he takes that type of heat. But how many of these quarterbacks have we had competitions in the past and head coaches have paid the fiddler for that, and we're going, yeah, looking back on it, none of them were good. None of them were really great. Like, some of them were able to draw a paycheck, but none of them were franchise, quote-unquote, quarterbacks. I don't know, all of them? Every single one? Of a competition? Because remember, Baker's arguably a franchise quarterback. I don't know if you asked Jason Light that down in Tampa, but either way, a lot of people think that Baker Mayfield's a franchise quarterback. That was no competition. No offense to Tyrod Taylor. He was just holding the fort down until Hugh Jackson felt that Baker was ready to play. But that wasn't a competition. So of all the competitions that we've had, how many have turned out where, oh, yeah, that quarterback's great? Not really many at all in the modern era for the Browns. And then you look around the league, there's a lot of guys who take heat for it, and it's like, well, these guys, they weren't really good anyway. 216-474-0092. So, yeah, when I say, hey, the honeymoon's over for Todd Monken, it's not where he all of a sudden doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to football. It's not where all of a sudden, we'll find that out coming up in September. I'll criticize the games, and then that's where it goes. But you could look around the room. If nobody else thinks that it's such a great quarterback room, he's not a magician. He can only get them to point A to point B, and if they can't get to point B, he's got to figure out a new way to get them to a point B that we can all live with, that he can live with, and try to figure out a way to win football games. That's his test. It's not trying to find some magic potion of something that ain't there. They're only capable of doing what they're capable of doing. And going back to what Florio said, it's like, yeah, you got one guy who has been in a whirlwind for the last 2 years when people thought he was going to be a top 10 pick to now being a 5th rounder. And you got one guy who's searching for something that clearly just ain't there anymore 6 years later. Coming up at 7:45, 2-second trivia. Your chance to win free Mr. Hero. It's a gift that keeps on giving, boy. You get a 4-pack of combo meals from Mr. Hero. And in 5 minutes, you may actually be happy that Lima interacts with so many Shador fans after you hear this.
content filtered right to your phone during training camp by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Get to the 92.3 The Fan YouTube channel to see daily Browns training camp breakdowns with Darryl Ryder and Coach Lance Reisland. Training camp coverage powered by Expert Renovations and Consumer Tire. 92.3 The Fan.
8 o'clock, we'll go around the AFC North. Ken Wyman, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Tony Pike, former Bearcat QB. He'll join us, ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati. Chris Muller, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers was running scout team defense the other day. And Steeler fans are fighting each other over autographs. Did you see that?
No.
That Pat Freiermuth guy, man, say what you will. Like, I hate the Steelers. There's a lot of respect that I have for some guys in that organization's history. I mean, what am I? Am I supposed to hate Chuck Noll? Sorry, I got a deep admiration and respect for him. I have to admit. But Pat Freiermuth, hell of a move by him a couple weeks ago. Talk about all that coming up at 8 o'clock. Also, 2-second trivia, your chance to eat some free Mr. Hero coming up at 7:45 this morning. I can't believe it. I need to thank you. I have ripped you and begged you to get off the internet and stop bothering with people who I either think are obsessed, are actually part of a cult, which are probably two of the same, or bots for that matter. And you stumbled on something that became a major talking point yesterday on The Fan.
Which I think could be explaining a lot of why Shedor's throws, especially the highlights that you see, even the good ones, are getting ridiculed so much online about the wobblers and the ducks and all of those. And I think this could make sense. This coming from HBoog32, who we've had some playful interactions back and forth. He released a video, over the weekend, 4-minute video that I thought honestly was like, all right, stand-up guy. Seems like a stand-up guy. Anyway, he said that he got a blister on his finger on his throwing hand.
This is Shedor.
That Shedor got a blister on his finger on his throwing hand. Then went and talked about failing to acknowledge that a blister ain't stopping a thing. He's going out every day and still executing despite the blister. So I think it's something that I don't think Shedor's been asked about at camp or anything like that, or that Shedor's not acknowledging, Shedor's not using as an excuse or anything like that. So, which I think is good. Hey, things are going to happen. You're going to get calluses, blisters. You're going to get various finger injuries throughout a season. I mean, every year, Josh Allen, by the end of the season, will show off his mangled digits and everything. You're like, how do you even throw the football? So it's something I think a young quarterback has to learn how to play through. I saw some people going after Shedor, said, oh, here come the excuses already. And I'm like, well, no. He hasn't made any excuses.
Nobody asked Todd
it.
Monken about this yesterday?
I don't think so.
Well, someone's going to need to ask Todd Monken about it today. So he's throwing with. I'm just making this. I just want to clarify this. You have somebody who is close to Shedor. Now, does this person speak for him at all, or is that wondering too much? I don't know this person.
No, I wouldn't say speak for him. I mean,
I know. I saw the
fully
video.
Capable of speaking for himself.
Several people sent me the video he made to you.
Yeah.
But okay, I just want to make sure
he's in his camp.
Okay,
is that fair?
Well, that's fine.
He's been in the off season. Yeah. He was out there helping film and collaborate with him.
Players have
various camps.
Yes, players, coaches, etc. have chiefs of staff and all the other things. I'm just making sure we're accurate here.
When he says something, the Shedor fans don't look at him and go, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
He's clearly in the inner circle.
Yeah.
All right.
He knows stuff that we don't know.
That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. If he's in the inner circle, if this man is one of the Sanders confidants, then doesn't this question need to be asked to Todd Monken? You have a player playing with injury. That makes a difference, does it not? I mean, Kenny Pickett got a hamstring injury and ended up being jettisoned.
Yeah. Do we call blisters injuries?
Dylan Gabriel got a concussion. We never heard of him again.
I'm being dead honest.
Why wouldn't it be it's an injury of some sort?
It's a discomfort
my
thing.
hand right now is not
injured. It can affect your mechanics a little bit.
Get you on the IR too.
Yeah, well, my hand right now is not injured. If I have a bunch of blisters over my hand, I can claim my hand is injured.
I don't think it matters for you, Ken. You don't use your hand for your trade.
No,
if a
but
pitcher gets a blister, it's a huge deal,
and
right?
That's
Same
why
for a quarterback.
and that's why it's an injury. Exactly.
Yeah,
so if
the only reason I'm hesitant to call it an injury is because I think this is the most that these quarterbacks throw all year. They throw more during camp, especially if you're in a quarterback competition, and the amount of reps and then throwing afterwards, which to Shador's credit, he certainly does a lot of. Also works with a bunch of wide receivers. So, I mean, who's been throwing more passes than Shador, over the last few months? Like, this is the time of year where something like that would probably be a little more frequent.
But I want to know, does that lead to anything? I'm not trying to be difficult. I really want to know, does that lead to fewer reps? Does that lead to fewer passes? What does that do? Like one of his business partners, I'm guessing, him saying that is not a member of the Cleveland Browns. The head coach of the Cleveland Browns, that's what matters. So I would like to hear an answer on that.
But
I don't know if there's a question that's been asked about these blisters. If a person who knows Shador Sanders very well is in his circle and is a business partner is saying that the man is throwing with blisters.
But either way, I think the fact that there was even an acknowledgement that that's a reason why the ball hasn't come off as cleanly as it looked to me last year. Last year in actual games, the weather at the end of the year might have hung up some throws in the air. I wasn't attacking like Shador's arm strength because we saw some of that at the end of the year. Even in wins, by the way, I want to make sure to point out, he did win those games against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, but there were some balls that got hung up in the air, and I'm like, well, that you do have to get used to throwing in the NFL in November and December, especially in that stadium.
Yes.
Which, hey, if Shador's fortunate enough to win the starting job and take off from here, won't have to worry about that in a few years.
We had the caller that said he'll be opening up the new stadium for us.
Hey, that would be awesome.
Well, I just want to make sure everything, and I know this is going to sound smarmy to a lot of people. I'm dead serious. I want to make sure that this thing is as fair as possible. If we're going to have a true fair competition, whatever that may mean to you, then I want to make sure it's as fair as possible here. So I would like to get to the bottom of this. If somebody, do they have press availability today?
Yeah, where on the hand, where on the fingers is the blister? Because that certainly could make a difference.
So Todd Monken would have press availability today. I would hope that one of the people that are the assembled media would ask him about this and whether or not it has anything there. Because I would like to have it confirmed that he has blisters. I don't just want to be saying things and wondering. I mean, we've speculated on many things in radio over the years, for crying out loud, but I don't want to do that. Because I want to make sure things are fair as best they can be. All right. Does he need to know? Nolan Ryan had blisters back in the day and had to soak his hands in pickle juice. This is in the 60s, for crying out loud, but still he had to do that to take care of those blisters. So I just want to make sure that that's done. He doesn't need to soak his fingers in pickle juice or anything like that. I just want to make sure that it's on the record if there is any sort of a injury.
Yeah, I remember, Kenny, I didn't have the right size shoes. I think I spoke about this recently back when I was a kid, and so I remember I was popping a lot of those. They told you don't pop the blisters, but I would heat up a needle and pop, and all this pus would explode out of there.
Why are you saying this?
And it just kept happening because
Stop saying this.
Yeah, we just didn't have the right size shoes, so I had to go back and do it again. Go pop, 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 pop.
Stop saying that.
And again, the explosion of the juices all over the place. It was gross.
You psycho!
It was filthy. I hope you're enjoying your breakfast.
Talking about that.
What you're saying right now.
Now, what were you?
Hearty breakfast.
Were you a grown man who bought sizes too big on the shoes?
I did find out that it was
because there was another person who did that we knew.
I remember that.
You go to sneakers.com. Apparently, they just have the size, and you're going to deal with it. If you want nice shoes, that's what you're going to deal with.
The toes curl up.
I don't know why we had to get to you being a kid and having to do such a thing, but
we just try to hang on. I think every parent goes through this. They try to hang on to those shoes a little too long.
So if he does have blisters, then is it plausible? It's obviously plausible. Do you give him more of a benefit of the doubt every day?
Yeah, I think if
the Browns confirm it, if Todd Monken's asked, do you give him more of a benefit of the doubt, or is this still strong-willed Tony?
I think they're not. If they're confident and saw Shedor's tape last year where he's throwing spirals, I think you're looking at not necessarily, where the ball's always ending up. And again, Deshaun Watson threw another horrific interception yesterday at camp. You're looking at process, right? You're trying to figure out, are the quarterbacks diagnosing at the line of scrimmage? Are they getting guys lined up? Are they running through the drills the correct way? And is the ball at least targeting the right area of the field based on all of that other stuff that you're asking the quarterbacks to do within the confines of your offense? And I think that's stuff that it's hard for us on tape to look at that, but Todd Monken knows. Like, there were some throws yesterday by both guys. You're like, that'd have been a sack. That'd have been blown dead. Hey, he threw a nice ball, and it was caught, so that's good. Guys are getting some work in the rep, but also understanding when they go back to the film study, like, that play never gets off. It's a sack.
By the way, when you talk about Deshaun, you're talking about the one that was taken away by Tyron Herring, number 47, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was a terrible pass.
It was terrible.
Absolutely
terrible
pass by Deshaun.
Watson, so this is interesting to me because you saw Zach Jackson.
Now you got John Telich texting me over your childhood. Thanks a lot. One of the most caring men in Cleveland media.
He understands the importance of having the right shoes.
Ultra-milers.
I mean, someone who's going to run 100 miles, I mean, they can't have bad shoes. I mean, there's just no getting around it.
But he wasn't a kid because we've discussed your childhood many times and the sadness that surrounds it.
So we had Zach Jackson on yesterday, and he tweeted this yesterday. I know we got to go. The separator right now, if there is one, is the move the ball game simulation periods, not in drills, not in total quality throws, or the sharing that goes with alternating stuff. Watson has had more productive move the ball sessions than Sanders has to this point. So I think what Zach is speaking to, instead of just the drills where we're sitting there at the 15-yard line or 10-yard line or 5-yard line, or, we're going over this, pass rush, no pass rush, whatever, in pads, not pads. He's saying in those drills, and you've been watching this, does that match kind of what you've seen? That in the more game simulator stuff, Watson's had a little more success.
I think you're right about that. Now, how much success, it might be negligible to some people, but again, to the victor goes the veteran. And so if you're a new coach, you're probably going to give it to the veteran, because if you can't do very much anything else, if you can get him in and out of the huddle and conduct an offense, that's going to be a feather in your cap for you. Coming up at 7:45, your chance to win free Mr. Hero. You got to answer 2 questions within 2 seconds each. All right? If you do that, you get a 4-pack of Mr. Hero combo meals absolutely free. That's a lot of food for nothing. All you have to do is answer 2 questions within 2 seconds each. A 2-second trivia coming up at 7:45. And I refuse to believe that a guy who coached under one of the most hateful coaches of all time doesn't feel hate in his heart. Ohio State fans, I think they're trying to lull you into a false sense of security up north, and you better not fall for it. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, that and 5 on the Fan.
Saturday's White Sox lost to the Reds, so Cleveland's still 4 games out of the top spot, and the Twins fell to Baltimore. Thus, the Guards stay a half game behind Minnesota for 3rd place. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
A difference in local and national perspective on the Browns that's going to make us look like real big villains. But I think we all feel the same. It's just on how you want to take it. More on that coming up here in a moment. I heard Kyle Whittingham mention this the other day. Now, this is a little bit difficult to hear because in Big Ten Media Days, he was kind of asked about Ohio State, and it seemed to be like, it's a game. Like, he wasn't like, I hate Ohio State. He didn't do that. And then Kyle Whittingham was asked about this after practice the other day. Here's the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines.
Will we have a better chance to win if I hated them? I don't understand. Whatever gives us the best chance to win, I'm all for. Want to beat them worse than anybody, around. I don't know how that got to be such a hot topic. If there's periods where in practice segments or things in the weight room that, that's talked about, we've got the countdown clocks. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay that at all. It's a huge game, gigantic. It's something that we all have in the back of our mind 24/7. So I don't know. I probably should have worded this differently, but that game is of the utmost importance.
Was that surprising to you, how the reaction from...
No, people, it's not surprising, I guess. I guess I set myself up for it in a lot of ways. But just don't confuse that with the desire, a lack of desire to win the game. I mean, we obviously understand that is the game.
Bryce Underwood, on the other hand, called them another opponent on the schedule. That's what he called Ohio State. Meanwhile, one of the Heisman Trophy candidates, arguably the greatest wide receiver who's ever played for Ohio State by the time it's all said and done, arguably, Jeremiah Smith, who's had offers to go other places for double-digit millions. He lives, he breathes the rivalry. He says he hates Michigan to his core.
With everything in me, I hate them.
How did you learn that?
High school recruiting. First came in, I think I made a mistake, and I was wearing dark blue.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, I was wearing dark. And it was Coach Hartline and Coach Keenan Bailey. And it was like, you can't wear them colors here. And then from that day forward, I was like, okay, yeah, it's real.
That's Jeremiah Smith on the Triple Option podcast,
and
you
could hear Urban Meyer in there go, uh-oh.
Which is hosted by Urban Meyer. See, I'm going to get to something here because I think that they're trying to Trojan horse you up there. Albert Breer was on Afternoon Drive. He's an Ohio State alum, along with Anthony Lima. While he was talking about the quarterbacks of the Cleveland Browns, they also got the chance to ask him about Kyle Whittingham's comments. Here's what Albert had to say.
I thought Jeremiah Smith handled himself better than Kyle Whittingham, and I like Whittingham. I've been around it enough. John Cooper was the head coach when I was there. I remember there was always this feeling like he doesn't quite fit. He's a good coach, but is he really cut out to be the Ohio State coach? And a huge part of that was the handling of the rivalry. What I remember was every year they would be doing something different. And one year it would be, we're taking this head on and it's the most important thing in the world. And then the next year it would be, we're going to treat it like any other game. And I just think it kind of built up in the heads of everybody in that program. What Kyle Whittingham's going to learn, if he doesn't know it already, is that everything that he says now will come back to him if he loses the game in November.
He's right. No matter what Kyle Whittingham says, everything comes back to him. And as I was a kid during that time, you and Albert are older than me. I loved Ohio State at that time. I had a deep distrust of John Cooper. I felt that he tried to throw things against the wall. It just seems to me that, Tone, if you just feel hate 365, you're going to have your best chance to win that game. If you just remind everybody how much you hate Michigan every day, whether it be off-season or in-season, you take a moment like Urban Meyer did every day to remind everybody on your staff and your team how much you're supposed to hate Michigan and how you need to hate Michigan, it does you better. It didn't work out for John Cooper because I don't think he ever found a way to quite hit that. And what made it even worse is that he had Ohio guys on that team. I know Eddie Georgian from Ohio, but he had Ohio guys on that team. More than what I think that Urban Meyer would have or more than what Ryan Day would have. But then I get to Kyle Whittingham. Kyle Whittingham coached under Urban Meyer. He was his DC at Utah, if I'm not mistaken. I think that Kyle Whittingham, Bryce Underwood, different animal, so that might change. But I think that Kyle Whittingham might be trying to Trojan horse everybody, trying to lull people into a false sense of security. You're telling me that guy who coached under Urban Meyer, one of the most hateful coaches of all time, hateful, nasty person when it comes to other teams that he's playing. You're telling me that guy didn't invoke any of that when he took over Utah? A team that was always kind of an underdog. He's had an underdog mentality and has built them up to that type of program. Leading on from Urban Meyer on forward. You're telling me that guy doesn't buy into hate? I think he's trying to lull people into a false sense of security. At least I hope so, because I think he's too talented of a football coach, too good of a football coach to not take a rivalry like that very seriously, especially knowing that you have to find something to get these guys emotionally charged because it's more of a business than it's ever been, Anthony.
Well, they had their holy war, obviously, against BYU. I think he was 11-5 or 11-6.
Mm-hmm.
So, he had the edge there, and some of those teams are very comparable. So I think he even won as an underdog. I don't know. I wonder because of his age coming into this rivalry now, and, you're hearing the players there. I wonder if Michigan is not thinking about the rivalry all that much because they've won 4 or 5. Like, I wonder if they're just like, yeah, Ohio State is another game on the schedule. Like, we've played better teams on paper than we are, and we beat them. So what's the big deal? Like, Ohio State to them, even last year, that game was way too close for comfort into the third quarter. I know the score wouldn't represent that if you just kind of flew in at the end and saw it, but we couldn't move the football. We couldn't score. We were committing some horrible.
I actually got to tell you, I felt differently about that game watching that game. I felt
I didn't
completely
feel good.
different.
At halftime, I was embarrassed again. I was embarrassed.
I felt that they were in control of the entire game.
We're up 1 score on this. That's the thing. That's the thing. That's what was worrying me is we were in control and we were only up 1 score, and all it takes is a couple of mistakes here or there, and they just didn't look that impressive to me last year again. So it's like, when is Ohio State ever going to look impressive in this rivalry game again? And I wonder if that is permeated into Michigan, where they're like, man, Ohio State's just no big deal. Like, we are on paper underdogs every year to this team, and we beat them or hang tight. Like, what's the big deal?
The only thing that gave me any pause last year was the recent history of the year before, and also the lack of trust of Ryan Day on that day.
Right. They're not afraid of Ryan Day. Like, let's be honest. Michigan, they think they have the better coach in this game this year.
I think that's true. What do they think?
Yes.
Right.
They absolutely think Whittingham is better.
Okay.
They'd probably be like, if Ryan Day were in Utah the last 20 years, if you did role reversal, how many national championships would Kyle Whittingham have?
I think that's true.
Probably
But
like 4.
I'm looking at Kyle Whittingham, and he'll be 67 by the time this game's played. But you're kind of making him out to be like, okay, he's this old lion that's at bay now, and he's just going to look at this differently. I think Kyle Whittingham has a hell of a chip on his shoulder. I mean, they pushed him out at Utah. This is a guy who took that program and kept it at an extremely high level, took them into a Power 5 conference, and made them reputable within a Power 5 conference. You can say whatever you want about the Big 12, but still a Power 5 conference, crying out loud, and then to the Pac-12. I mean, you have a good program there that's able to, or Big 12, I should say. You have a good program there that he is the founding father of. I mean, this isn't the end with Gary Patterson at TCU where it was just time. That was still a team that, even with injuries, was still going to be a tough out. If they had their best injuries or if they were healthy, they were going to be one of the top teams in the entire country. That's how Kyle Whittingham had it. And they forced him out of there at an advanced age of 66 years old. If I were him, I'd be very upset. And I got to tell you, you'd be living that hate. And what better way to prove yourself than to go into Michigan after all these nasty things that had happened to the previous head coach, where he was really in over his head and shouldn't have been made the head coach, but that's somebody else's problem, and you have to go out and fix the thing. What better way to prove how great of a coach you are than to go in and have to clean up someone else's mess, and I mean mess, and go out there and stick it to Ohio State? I think he's trying to lull everybody into a false sense of security. I can't speak for Underwood. To me, Underwood, he's either doing the same thing his coach is doing, or he is a indication of what could very well be the problem that a lot of people have with college football now, where it's too much of a business. Nobody has any hate in their heart anymore, which makes you like Jeremiah Smith more. But I just can't imagine a coach that's accomplished like Kyle Whittingham would just lay down and think it's just another day going to the football stadium and that's it. Sorry to slap the table.
Well, and I always wanted the age-old question about, is Ohio State, did they own the rivalry because they focused on Michigan every day the whole year in some of those years, or was it just they had so much more talent than some of those Michigan teams? I mean,
I think they
did.
did.
The Urban Meyer team, it was not a fair fight against Brady Hoke some of those years. I know they had some close games too, and then they blew the tires off them in some of those, even those Harbaugh years where it's like, is this because they hate Michigan, or is this because they've got so much more NFL talent?
There's a tremendous difference, it seems, between local media perspective and national media perspective on the Browns. I think to a person in the local media, do we all think that Deshaun Watson's going to win the job? All of us? Do we all think that Deshaun Watson's going to win the job? Not one. I don't think I can find anybody who wants him to win a job in the media.
It's nothing I would put a big sum of money on right now, would you?
But do you think that he's going to win the job?
I think, but I'm not.
Really?
I don't. Every one of those interceptions I see.
Well, this is going to be different because I still think he's going to win the job. Or he's going to be given the job.
Ooh, given.
But
not earned.
Well,
given.
Okay.
In
let's
Cleveland,
not,
we're just giving
on.
things away
hold
now.
on.
It was given.
All earned. Why did I say what
I heard a guy say it once. Actually, I read it.
We played Mike Florio for you earlier, which he basically said Deshaun Watson's a giant waste of time. I think I'd agree. But I don't think that they're close to the situation like local media is. And it feels to me that Deshaun Watson's going to win the job. And while I don't want it to happen, I could accept some of the rationality behind it. Mike Tannenbaum, he was on First Take, though. Here's what he said about moving on from Deshaun Watson. I think he says it's a giant waste of time.
This makes no sense to me. You spent $230 million and 3 first-round picks, and the guy's played 19 games. He's tore his Achilles tendon twice. Like, give me the fact pattern of a player who hasn't played good football in 6 years, tore his Achilles tendon twice, came back, played well in a free agency year. I mean, this is crazy. Like, you need to know what you have with Shedeur Sanders. Oh, and by the way, Taylon Green and Dylan Gabriel. Like, cut your losses. Move on from Deshaun Watson. You're in year 1 of a Todd Monken program. Obviously, quarterback could be in the mix for next year. You guys see what you have with these young guys. I don't think there's any conceivable way they would re-sign Deshaun at the end of the year. So I would go with those 3 young guys and just move on from Deshaun Watson.
I mean, Mike Tannenbaum has teed it up many times before, and we've gone after him, and I'd love to do the local thing and get all defensive and go, you're not in the building every day, we are. I think that he just speaks to the choir on this. I think we'd all like to move on. I think we all would. Because in the grand scheme of things, what are we accomplishing here? But I think that a lot of people here have accepted that it looks like it's more and more that it would be Deshaun Watson who wins this job coming out of camp. And still, Shedeur Sanders might play many more games than Deshaun Watson this year. But it seems to be that Deshaun Watson would win this job out of camp, and it doesn't sit well with anybody locally. I just think it's refreshing to hear what everybody wants, but we're probably not going to get. And if that's an indictment on Shedeur, I don't know yet. We'll discuss it when it happens. But I think that he's just preaching to the choir of how most of us feel.
Whether it's an indictment on Shedeur, it might just be an indictment of where he is in his development right now.
Fair.
Might not be. Now, it's going to be tough for him, right? Because we've talked about how many other teams would want him right now. How many teams would he have an opportunity like he has here, where I think even if he loses this job, he could be in... I mean, honestly, he could be in by October, maybe even earlier. Who knows? I don't even know that Deshaun Watson could stay healthy. When we've seen his lack of awareness in the pocket and the amount of bad hits that he would take, that he wasn't able to size guys up because he didn't even know they were coming. So that's part of the predicament.
You talk Watson or Sanders?
Watson. So
okay.
I think that's part of the predicament for him, and I think it's understandable. Like if I were hosting a show anywhere else outside of Cleveland, even though Shedeur is not even really getting brought up in the pods I listen to, and they break down all the quarterbacks that can play, his name doesn't even come up. So they don't even respect him the way that we do here in Cleveland. Despite what you guys may think, like we're at least giving him a chance. They don't even talk about him or the Cleveland situation at all because they have just evaluated it as the worst or second worst quarterback room in all of football, and they trade Myles Garrett, first-year coach. They're young, new offensive line. They're going to lose a bunch of games. That's all I hear when anybody nationally really talks about the Browns. So I don't think they're giving a lot of thought to it. But when I hear Tannenbaum say that, like Yeah, I'm a little surprised because I just thought Watson would be gone by now. I thought they would have just turned the page.
I thought so too, and then I do think that there are some contractual things that nobody wants to talk about or get into that might prohibit such a thing, and also that no other quarterback has really stepped in there and taken the reins. Now, if you want to blame it on somebody else not giving him that opportunity, okay, that guy's down in Atlanta right now. But I see this situation, and I think that what Mike Tannenbaum and Florio and a lot of people say are the same things that a lot of us are thinking. Like, if we're not going to go anywhere, let's at least try to do our best to be happy. This guy is just a reminder of bad football and doesn't make anybody happy. The other guy is certainly controversial with a lot of the fan base, but he's also a lot more fun to talk about. And it has a lot more curiosity to see how he works out. But we're not going to get what we want, at least at the beginning of the year, because while I think Browns fans are very important, they're not as important to Todd Monken as the 53 guys in the locker room, because he's got to do what's responsible by the rest of that locker room. And if they don't necessarily trust Shedeur Sanders right now, he's going to have to make that choice, and he's going to have to go to Deshaun Watson. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we'll go around the AFC North. Let's hear what's happening in Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. 5 minutes away. 216-474-0092. 5 minutes away. Your chance to win a 4-pack of Mr. Hero combo meals. But you have to answer 2 questions within 2 seconds each. 2-second trivia. You could be eating free Mr. Hero. Fill it up now. 216-474-0092. Free Mr. Hero on the line. 2-second trivia. 5 minutes away on the Fan.
some accidents this morning, but the good news is they've been cleared out. So the only issues at the moment are the typical slowdowns on the Innerbelt Bridge and on 77 North heading downtown. Let's hope it stays that simple. Jeff Thomas, Odyssey Cleveland traffic.
Get your routine right during training camp. Listen to the pressers and hear from the players while you work. Baskin and Phelps. Weekday mornings starting at 10. 92.3 The Fan. You have 2 seconds and only 2 seconds to win. This is 2-second trivia.
It is time for 2-second trivia, where you can win a 4-pack of Mr. Hero Combo Meals. Download Mr. Hero's mobile app or get a regular BOGO offer just for signing up. Well, there's no or in there. You can get a regular BOGO offer just for signing up. Receive monthly coupon offers, order online, and earn points while you enjoy your favorite menu items. Download today in the Google Play Store or Apple Store. Tone is ready. Are you ready, Tone?
Oh, we are so ready. I felt bad about what happened last week out in public at a certain baseball game.
Well, they just didn't know what they were doing. Actually, they all knew what they were doing. They just froze up. There was a live audience there, so I guess we could never take this thing on the road and play it in front of people because everybody froze up. They were all in a hurry.
I apologized to him for making him look bad.
There was nothing to apologize for. They knew what they were getting into. I say, let them lose. Here we go. Adam and Willoughby, home of the South Rebels. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Lima, take it away.
Which legendary sports media personality was ridiculed for walking around Canton with no ass?
That's the thing.
While I agree with you, it's the wrong answer.
Pony and I had that out on text. We have a text thread with the other show. Should I add you to that text thread, or are you on enough threads?
I think I'd like to be on that
You'd
one.
like to be on that thread? Okay, I'll ask those guys. But he's like, did he have ass removal surgery? It's like he's the real life Hank Hill. He's got diminished glutes.
Somebody said Owen California Raisin.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of California Raisin memes.
Outstanding.
Mike Wazowski's still my favorite.
Outstanding as well. All right, Max in Lakewood, home of the Rangers. Max, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm ready.
He's ready. Lima, take it away.
All right, we go to the NFL. Who was named the starter yesterday at quarterback in Minnesota?
Kyler Murray.
Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, nearly ran out of time, and he got it in just in the nick of time, according to our judge, Owen Lodeman. That means he is in the barn. Max, for your chance to win a 4-pack of Mr. Hero Combo Meals. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
Lima, take it away.
Which football coach said the circus won't be coming to town when he gives up his play calling in an actual game this season?
Close. Jeff at Olmsted Falls, home of the Bulldogs. Jeff, good morning.
Jeff.
Good morning, Ken.
Jeff sounds ready. Lima, take it away.
Who has the best record in Major League Baseball at 74-46?
The Chicago Cubs.
No. Not a bad guess. They have 70 wins.
Bad guess at all. Nick in Medina. Well, there's like 3 teams in Medina.
Yeah, there are.
I'm just going to say the Highland Hornets.
Burgeoning.
Nick, good morning.
Still no Olentangy.
Showtime.
I like his attitude. Tone, take it away.
Can you tell me who the Browns' defensive coordinator is this year?
Oh, come on. We got a nickname for him in everything.
Yep.
Say it, Owen. Can you say the nickname?
Rootin' Tootin' Fresh and Fruitenberg.
We normally don't give them away.
It's awesome. 216-474-0092. Ben in North Royalton, home of the Bears. Ben, are you ready?
Let's do it, fellas.
Oh, I love it. I'm rooting for him. Tone, take it away.
All right, what's the new name of Cleveland's WNBA team?
The Sirens.
Yes.
All righty, Ben in North Royalton, and No Row is in the barn. Ben, your chance to eat some free Mr. Hero. You are on the precipice. Are you ready?
One shot. Let's go.
Lima. Take it away.
Which Guardians player, as heard earlier on the show, which Guardians player's dad has gone after Ken Carman on social media?
Ooh.
Oh, boy. DeLauder. I don't know.
That's a good guess.
Also, just saw a guy picking a wedgie out there in the lobby. Lima.
Pick it good.
Away we go. Brian in Parma, home of the Normandy Invaders. Brian, are you ready?
Taste buddies.
Lima, take it away.
Who is the head coach of the Michigan football team?
Whittingham.
Yes. I can feel it.
You can count it. All righty. Brian is in the barn. His chance to eat some free Mr. Hero. You can download that Mr. Hero's mobile app and you get regular BOGO offers as well. Brian, are you ready?
The app is great.
Lima, take it away.
Which broadcaster got pulled over and charged with a DUI after leaving a golf course trying to go see the grandparents who are both dead?
Not Diana Rossini. Tony Romo.
Oh, you got to count it. You got to count it. He got it in there.
He got a joke.
He got it in there. He made a joke and everything.
in there.
Come on.
You got to give it to him.
Come on.
You got to give it to him.
Come on.
Oh, he's a tough judge.
Yeah! Well done.
Now, John, I have to say, producer John is still working on that Rossini Weekly. And said there's been some traction. Is that right? We might be getting around weekly?
That's what John keeps saying.
All right, John.
Brian, congratulations. You get the free Mr. Hero. I'm going to put you on hold. Congratulations, friend.
You guys just made the list.
Thank you. Yes. Brian in Parma. Hopefully it's a good one. Download the Mr. Hero mobile app. Get a regular BOGO offer. Just for signing up, receive monthly coupon offers, order online, and earn points while you enjoy your favorite menu items. Download today in the Google Play Store or Apple Store. And because Tony Romo is on leave, where he's got $72 million left on his contract over there, according to Andrew Marchand of The Athletic, that they're moving up J.J. Watt to work with Jim Nantz, and they're bumping up Ross Tucker, which I think Ross Tucker is a hell of a
he's great.
color commentator during a game. They're moving him up with Ian Eagle, our friend.
Yeah. Now, will Ross Tucker finally, after all these years and all the begging from the afternoon show, will he drop a Nick Wilson or Jonathan Peterlin reference? Because they've been searching for it.
No time like now.
Yep. Let's do it.
Have they really begged him to do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've asked.
Well, you know, it's really...
You're not going to get it if you don't ask.
I understand that they might
Give
seem a
us
little...
100% of the shots.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they might be a little bit sensitive to these things, but let me go ahead and say it. Is it really that hard to drop in a, hey, you know, I was talking to Nick and Jonathan from Cleveland Radio, from 92.3 The Fan earlier this week. Like if you're doing a Browns game, if you're Ross Tucker, it's not that hard. It really isn't. You know, I did an interview with Nick and Jonathan on 92.3 The Fan this week as they get ready to play the whoever's, and you just drop in a creamy nougat.
That's right. That's the time to do it.
Not a difficult thing to do.
My Cleveland radio friends, I'm on every week.
Maybe they don't want him to do it. Maybe he doesn't want to do it because I'm sure he does other radio hits.
And
He's
then
like, well, if I
they're
shout
gonna
out
be
Nick
begging.
and Jonathan, then I got to shout out Giannotti, then I got to shout out Bart Winkler, then I got to, like, who knows who you got to shout out then?
Ball cannon.
Ball cannons.
Yep. Floor wax in Denver.
The skylight thing. Yeah, you know, I'd have to do that. I mean, Dave Logan does his own thing. He doesn't need to shout out anybody, but I'm just saying, maybe he just stays away from it.
While he's calling the game.
Yeah, because I'm sure some of those guys, they'll get upset.
Pittsburgh, Ilkin and Barrasso.
Oh, well, I'll shout out Ilkin and Barrasso during a high school game. I don't care about that. We're talking a legendary show there. Ken Wyman, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Tony Pike, ESPN 1530 in Cincinnati, former Bearcat. And Chris Muller, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. We go around the AFC North preseason week 1 style in 5 minutes on The Fan. Northeast Ohio fence.
11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows, and can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline Sports News every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Right now, I anticipate in all the preseason games our guys will play.
Training camp headlines don't take a break. Hear all the latest from Todd Monken before every practice.
Our plan is everybody will dress and they're going to play.
Right here on your radio home for Browns football. 92.3 The Fan.
Con it up. 93.3 The Fan looking for a winner. Enter the word WASH, W-A-S-H, at 923thefan.com before 9 a.m. Your chance to win a $50 gift card to Blue Falls Car Wash. And now you're qualified for the grand prize 6-month membership. Plus, this week only, get a free car wash at the Blue Falls Car Wash in Stowe and Cuyahoga Falls. Brought to you by Blue Falls Car Wash and Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Hey, it's just about time to go around the AFC North. Remember, all these guests appear on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right. Call Kyle Wright hotline, and our very first guest comes to us from Baltimore. Ken Wyman, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore, as the Ravens look like they might be a man down as they get ready to start their preseason. What can you tell us about Nate Wiggins? He was carted off just yesterday, I believe, there, Ken.
Yeah, it sounds like they dodged a bullet. He's going to miss a little time. My guess is they think he'll be ready for week 1, but I was not out there yesterday, but talking to people that were, he was writhing in pain on the ground. And, of course, when you have one of those, they're doing a one-on-one drill, and he's guarding Jacoby Lane, who's been the talk of camp, and maybe he got stepped on, went down, and you worry it's going to be the ACL or a knee ligament, but I think my guess, and I'm no doctor, he may have hyperextended the knee, but it sounds like early indications are that there's no structural damage there.
You mentioned Jacoby Lane. That was going to be my first question. The third rounder out of USC. He's a big one at 6'4". He said he's been the talk of camp?
He's making plays every single day. Now, I'm old enough to remember Miles Boykin making plays every day at camp early, so I don't want to get too excited, because the Ravens' track record for drafting receivers is also horrible. So, and receivers that they took on day 2 or 3 has been even worse. Like Zay Flowers is basically the only receiver they've drafted that has turned out. But he looks the part so far, and it seems like he has passed Devontae Walker as the number 3 receiver on this team.
Ken Wyman, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. So the feeling with the new head coach is this Super Bowl, and it can't be Super Bowl or bust anymore like it was with John Harbaugh. You're going to give Jesse Minter plenty of time, but is he being compared to the standard of a new head coach jumping into a situation, or is he being compared to the standard of a coach that's taking over a team that disappointed, and that's why they need to make these changes?
I think it's the latter. And the other thing is, usually when a guy comes in and he's the first-year coach on a team, it's because the team stunk because they didn't have a quarterback. And the Ravens feel like Lamar Jackson was banged up a year ago. And seeing him out of camp, it looks like he's moving like Lamar Jackson. So they feel if Lamar Jackson's healthy and upright, they can compete for a Super Bowl. And so that is the standard, even if it is a rookie head coach in Jesse Minter.
Do you want to play Lamar Jackson at all in the preseason? I know he's sitting on Saturday, right? Yes, Saturday at 7 p.m. against Philadelphia at home in Baltimore. Do you want to see Lamar at all during the preseason?
No, ever since Hollywood, it was J.K. Dobbins got hurt in a preseason game. I'm all for not playing these guys at all in the preseason. It's a game where injuries happen, and why risk an injury in a game that doesn't mean anything? They'll get their work in on in the joint practices and in training camp.
Who's the worst coach in this division?
That's a great question. I'm going to go Mike McCarthy.
Wow.
All right. Bring that back up.
I like that.
Also, full disclosure, I love Monk, so I hope he's successful there. I don't know that he has a quarterback, but I'm a big Monk fan, so I'm not answering Monk.
Ken Wyman, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore, with some fireworks to start things off as they host Philadelphia 7 p.m. on Saturday. We go to Cincinnati, and former Bearcat ESPN 1530's Tony Pike. They host the Detroit Lions tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at Paycor Stadium. Tony, first off, your situation with your defense, have they fixed it down there in Cincinnati?
I think they've done everything they can to fix it. Dexter Lawrence is a big piece of that, but it's not just Dexter Lawrence. It's Jonathan Allen next to him. It's Boye Mafe, Cassius Howell, the rookie that they took this year, is playing extremely well. And then Brian Cook on the back end. They should help every level of this defense, but it starts with Dexter Lawrence, and they certainly have upgraded that defensive line.
Well, that is something that obviously is there to pay attention to, because the last time you guys had anything resembling even a decent defense, you guys were playing in the Super Bowl with a chance to win it all. Is that renewing some optimism around there?
Yeah, the optimism is high, and obviously the supporting cast, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, but Chase Brown is transforming as a running back, as to a complete back. There's a lot of excitement around how they're going to utilize Chase Brown. The offensive line brings back all 5 starters. It's the best offensive line that Joe Burrow has started a season behind since he's been a Cincinnati Bengal. And the tight end room with Eric All Jr. coming back is upgraded as well.
Who is the worst coach in this division?
Oh, man, at this point, I think Monken, based on process of elimination. McCarthy has won. I'm a big Jesse Minter fan. At UC, Rick Minter was obviously a coach at UC. I think Jesse Minter has the right makeup, and I think Zach Taylor, as a coach that's coming back into the fold, that has the camaraderie and the understanding of his whole staff coming back, I think that's a big advantage. So I think Monken is right now the weakest.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. Tony Pike, ESPN 1530, Cincy's 360 on ESPN 1530. I'm a big Amarius Mims fan coming out of college. This is a big year for him. Is this the year he reaches that possibly, dare I say, elite status?
Yes. If it's going to happen, it's going to be this year. He has looked phenomenal at camp. He moves so well. He's a massive human. He's a type of guy you look at, and there's no question what position in the NFL he plays. He was born to be a tackle, and I envision very soon that there's going to be conversations in Cincinnati as to, is this a guy you're going to have to make the highest paid tackle in football at the right side right now? So he's checked every box, and he's living up to the hype.
What do you think is fair criticism that's levied against Joe Burrow from outsiders and national media?
He's got to stay healthy. That's nothing new here in Cincinnati. It's been some freak injuries at times, but they need him to play 17 games. And if he plays 17 games, there's a thought and a belief, and I get behind it, that he's the best, if not one of the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. But your availability has to be there, and that's the criticism that they're going to face and that he's going to face until he gets to that 17-game mark of a regular season. And if he does, I think the team can make some noise.
Tony Pike, Cincy 360 on ESPN 1530, former Bearcat, and we're getting ready to go to Pittsburgh as we're still trying to get – there we go, Chris Muller, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, as they're at 7 o'clock tomorrow hosting the Green Bay Packers at Acrisure Stadium. Chris, first off, your thoughts on the fight between the fans at camp a couple of weeks ago, fighting over autographs. It's just deplorable.
Pathetic loser behavior, Ken. It's in the top 3 of what I would call sad behaviors if you were a grown adult. If you were over the age of 12 and you were fighting for an autograph, there should be like a moratorium on whether you're not even allowed to attend like a sporting event around other like adults and children. So I would put that on the, who's the guy, Zach Hampel, who fights for fly home run balls?
Yes.
The guy who like truck people.
Oh, yeah. I remember him.
Send the autograph fight people adults and Zach Hampel to an island. But here's the catch. No one ever comes to get them. They just have to stay there.
Chris Muller, 93.7 The Fan. Tough talking. Jeremy Bernard, how's he looking?
He hasn't looked as good as Roman Wilson, but that is, I guess, more of a commentary on Roman Wilson finally looking like an NFL player and maybe being on Aaron Rodgers' good side. Bernard has not been bad by any stretch, but I guess that would probably lead me into saying that Wilson has been one of the positive stories of camp. That he looks much more polished, guy that they drafted in the 3rd round and thought would be good and just had a hell of a time getting on the field in the first place, seems to finally be coming into his own and not a moment too soon. But Bernard, I think, has been good enough and will be good enough that they're actually going to be able to run some legitimate 4-wide sets this year, which I think last year if they were running a 4-wide set, Ken, I would have been the next guy up as the 5th wide receiver. It was like Ben Skoranek, Adam Thielen, DK Metcalf, and I think they had at one point Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and that was essentially like their top 4. It was very pathetic.
Any word on how Cleveland native Tom Arth is feeling about Will Howard versus Drew Aller?
No, but that's like the daily story is like you hear from one person that Will Howard had a good day, then you hear from another person that Drew Aller looked incredible, and then you hear from somebody else the same day that said Drew Aller didn't look that impressive. I mean, here's to me the story. Aller's got probably the best pure arm in camp, unless you say Aaron Rodgers at 42 might still be the best, which, I mean, we know Rodgers' arm hasn't really diminished much at all. But Aller is a guy that is going to get the obvious red shirt here, right? They picked him in the third round. They're not going to cut him. That could be another third-round pick from last year, Caleb Johnson. But Aller's going to be on this team no matter what. And I think the question becomes, does Will Howard play well enough in the preseason that he justifies some sort of move being made with Mason Rudolph? There's a lot of scuttlebutt about them keeping 4 quarterbacks. I still I don't see it. I think that they will keep 3. And I think if Will Howard actually looks good, they would consider moving Mason Rudolph for a late-round pick. But I would say right now Howard is the guy with a ton to prove. It's weird. They're doing the thing you guys I'm sure have seen in other quarterback situations, maybe not in yours just because it's so much in flux, but the veteran backup guy is not even going to probably get much of a chance to like show what he can do because they're going to say, oh, Mason, we already know what you're all about. And if Will Howard plays really well and gets that extended time and looks the part, then I do think they would look to move on from Rudolph, even though he is that veteran-tested guy.
Chris, you're so familiar with both the Steelers and the Browns, considering your upbringing. So I think this would be a good time. We do something called a power rank, and I'd love to hear you power rank. If these 2 quarterback rooms were merged, Cleveland and Pittsburgh, how would you rank the quarterbacks? Starting at number 1.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, God.
From best to worst, go.
It's not like his show's ever done it.
Never.
Wait a minute. So who are is it Shedeur, Deshaun, and Gabriel in my ranking, or is there a mystery 4th quarterback?
I mean, if you want to throw Taylon Green in there, I talked to him the other day. A delightful young man. I'm rooting for him.
Freak athlete.
Yeah, I know. I like Taylon Green too, actually, but he might rank higher than you think. I'm going to go Rodgers 1. It's just gross. He's 42 years old, but still, I have to go Rodgers 1. God, I can't believe I'm doing this either.
Wow.
I think I've seen the guy almost win a playoff game, which means Mason Rudolph has to be 2.
Wow. You disgust me.
Wow.
Shedeur Sanders threw one of the worst touchdown passes I've ever seen to Harold Fannin. I was sitting right next to Ken while he cheered and was, bear hugged.
I was sober.
Slapped by the entirety of Northeast Ohio.
What was so bad about it? He got the job done.
It was awesome.
Who got the W?
You missed a hell of a time that day,
Who
Tone.
got the win?
You missed a hell of a day.
Tone, if they transported me or you or Ken or Pony or anybody else into Shedeur Sanders' body at the moment before he threw that ball, we would have had a chance of getting off roughly the same quality of pass. Poor Fannin hurt himself making such a great catch. He's awesome, by the way. I wish the Steelers had him.
That's great.
Shedeur 3. God, it feels dirty even saying that. I guess Deshaun Watson 4.
Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going.
I have to rank guys who played in the NFL ahead of guys who've literally never thrown a... Dylan Gabriel 5. I want to say like 3 people stacked in a trench coat higher than Dylan Gabriel, but I can't.
Come on.
You got to play this for Pony.
Chris.
Will Howard and Drew Aller.
I got a question for you. Why do you guys always steal our things like power rankings? What the hell was that the other day?
Power rankings?
Yeah, you guys are power ranking things
me.
all of a sudden. I didn't steal. I almost said the S word. I didn't steal nothing from you.
You stole power rankings from me. I was doing that in like 2013 when I got moved to Drive Time.
You think I knew you in 2013? Hell no, I didn't know you.
You knew enough to be stealing power rankings from me.
Would you think I was listening to you? Who were you hosting with back then?
Notes with a pad and paper.
Who were you hosting with back then?
Joseph Raymond Starkey.
Yeah, I was listening to Ilkin and Barrasso. I wasn't listening to you guys. Who's the worst coach in the division?
Oh, man. God, that's a tough one because 2 of them haven't, been head coaches before. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Come on.
I'm gonna say Zach Taylor.
Oh. 3 different. No, I'm just saying 3
Mueller.
different people, 3 different answers.
4th longest tenured coach in the NFL right now, Zach Taylor.
I know, but he's like Do you look at him and say he's more of just who is his quarterback versus any other coach? Like, what is additive about Zach Taylor?
What would Todd Monken do? What would you think Todd Monken would be able to do with Joe Burrow?
Very incomplete rosters.
I know he wouldn't be like throwing stuff and ending practice after like the worst 1-minute drill in history by his 2 top dogs. I know that wouldn't be happening.
That didn't go over very well. Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that one, buddy.
Sounds like a high school coach, Ken. It sounds like they're out in.
No, a high school coach would. Well, first off, I would restart practice if we were out in the borough. Okay.
Out in the borough? What are you, the Junction Boys?
I try to hold us to a standard here. I'm not even the head coach, by the way. I'll give you the head coach's number. You can start harassing him. He's a Steeler fan, by the way.
How do you guys even function together?
Chris, I'm from Northeast Ohio. If my friends aren't Browns fans, then they're usually Steelers fans. I would imagine it's the same thing in Youngstown and Pittsburgh.
You know what I had to explain to Pony about the Youngstown thing, by the way? You enjoy when he's wrong about stuff that he's very confident about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had to explain to him a couple of years ago during Kenny Pickett's big home opener after year 2. He's going to be so much better. I said, get ready. There's going to be a ton of red and gold in that crowd for the 49ers. And he goes, why the heck would there be a bunch of red and gold? I said, it's the DeBartolo family. It's the Youngstown Niners connection. He goes, you're full of crap. What happened on opening day? 20,000 red and gold clad Niners fans in that crowd.
Yeah, it's true. They love their own, and that means that they will support the 49ers because the DeBartolos are part of their own. All right, Chris, thank you very much. Chris Muller, 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. Yeah, Chris doesn't, or Pony doesn't know, you know what, from Shinola when it comes to people. Three different people, 3 different answers for the worst coach in the division. Next week, I want to ask them who they think gets fired first. I know that's terrible, but
we got all those
you got
answers.
3 different coaches.
We got all those answers, but we had somebody on our station over the last week that said all 4 AFC North teams are going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Kind of.
And it wasn't a joke?
It wasn't us. It wasn't anybody on this show. Not Owen, not John.
Did that get pushed back, or did they just...
Eagles. Don't just hear the game, feel it. Upgrade your audio today at summitsound.net. Summit Sound. See it, hear it, feel it.
The best Guardians coverage is right here on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
For the first time ever, I'm going to admit to riding the fence. Not that I haven't done it. I've been called out before and had to pick a side. I've been forced to by you guys before, and I like that you do that. I really do. But I am trying to straddle a fence right now, and it's very difficult. I am trying to figure out what's best for the long term for our football team so we don't have to sit here and keep having quarterback discussion after quarterback discussion after quarterback discussion. I keep trying like crazy. But I'm also trying to figure out in a cosplay type way with a new head coach what he needs to do that's best for the 53 man. Like yesterday, I said something. It's amazing. I went on Fox 8. I said it on the air yesterday. And then I went on Fox 8 and I said it, and immediately I disagreed with myself. Because I said, hey, you know what? If Todd Monken really wanted to flip a coin, he could flip a coin because I don't know if any of these quarterbacks are going to be here next year. So like Romeo Crennel made the joke about flipping a coin. Did he really flip a coin? I don't know. We'd like to say he did. He probably didn't. But in the end, probably didn't matter because in the end, quarterbacks just weren't good enough. Any of the ones that he had, the one that they drafted, the two veterans that they had, it wasn't going to work. But he was already a year in. Todd Monken's fresh and new. And if I don't know if any of these guys are really going to be here next year, then I think it's like, well, I guess you could go ahead and do something, whatever you wanted to do, to see whatever you want to do. And I think a lot of fans and a lot of national perspective media are feeling that way, Anthony. But I know that he's got a responsibility to the 52 other men in that locker room because I'm looking over it, and I'm going to the bathroom just a moment ago, and I remember what Chris said about the 4-quarterback thing. It's like, man, they got Rudolph there, and, you know, they like Rudolph as a hell of a hand that's helped them out in the past in a pinch, but you got a young guy in Will Howard who can be exciting and a tough guy and a good player, and Drew Aller who has all the arm potential in the world. And they got to deprogram whatever they taught him over there with James Franklin and Kotelnicki at Penn State. And they're making an argument to have a 4-quarterback room. And I'm looking at, and yes, part of this is because of the interview. I talked to Taylor Green earlier this week. Absolutely love him. Fine young man. And when you're that nice and when you're that articulate and thoughtful, it's hard not for me to root for you. And I go, why can't we hold on to 4 quarterbacks? Why can't we have a 4-quarterback room? Hell, I got a 6'6" monster back there who seems to be a hell of a young man. And I'm just trying to keep players I like, which probably isn't the answer to do it. But I'm going, well, if we have all these quarterbacks and we're thinking multiple quarterbacks are going to play, who's to say Taylor Green doesn't play at some point this year? Why can't we keep 4? Well, Ken, I don't know. If we're trying to win football games, and that's what Todd Monken's going to do, am I going to take a spot away from somebody who's going to actually be able to play on my field in special teams and fill in the secondary or at wide receiver? Or am I just going to keep Taylor Green around? So I'm walking a fence here. I'll openly admit it. Because can you keep 4 quarterbacks? Yeah, you can if you don't care about the season. Yeah, Todd Monken's got to care about the season.
Yeah, there's nothing real strategic about that, right? And as happens right now more, not just in Cleveland, but everywhere in the NFL, the rash of injuries that beset quarterbacks, and oftentimes, I hate to say it, the guys that don't have awareness in the pocket, they get injured more. It's not the scramblers. Like we always think, guys that take off and run get injured more.
And Deshaun Watson, if he starts the season, what's he been lacking recently? Awareness. What's happened to him recently? Getting hurt.
You get popped by guys you never see, and so you can't brace for it. And so those guys tend to get injured, or the guys that are trying to throw the football with guys draped all over them, and they get helmets clobbering their hands. Some of it's bad luck. You know, obviously bad luck can weigh into it too. But I found it interesting. So Chris Muller was just on with us, and he's someone who he watches the Browns. I think his grandparents are from Cleveland. Yeah. They ran a bar right outside of downtown.
They used to own that bar. We went to that bar after the Steelers game. It was excellent. It was really excellent after the Browns beat them.
And so obviously doing radio in Pittsburgh, you're going to keep tabs on the Browns as well. And he said something that we were kind of having fun with, but I think it does speak to how we should try to be examining quarterbacks a little more artfully. Let's put it that way. So he was talking about you bear hugging last year in the stadium when Shedeur Sanders threw the touchdown to Harold Fannin. And on a quarterback tracker, what would that read?
1 for 1 touchdown.
It would read 1 for 1 touchdown and about 8 beers.
And I am seeing only 8. Okay.
I was taking her easy that day.
Yeah. It was, yes, you were being very careful. So I laugh at that because I'm seeing people go at Coach Riz about the quarterback tracker numbers and then trying to understand when he's saying, hey, actually, there are some things Watson does better. Well, wait a second, but the completions and the touchdowns and the interceptions. And it got me thinking when Mueller was talking about that. Like he said, that was one of the worst touchdown throws he's ever seen. Well, we don't, as fans, we don't ever call a touchdown a bad throw.
No, it got in.
There's just no chance you're calling that a bad throw.
6 is 6.
Nor do we call a win by a rookie quarterback
a bad win.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
When
You're right.
I thought Shedeur was horrendous in those games.
But you could say that, and if I were probably in any other city, I would agree with you.
That's what I'm talking about.
But when I'm in the 537 and I'm sitting right next to an arch enemy of the people of Cleveland, and then to his co-host, that's not as much of an arch enemy, but still an enemy, and people are falling over themselves, and we're high-fiving, and people are spilling beer. It was an accident. Spilling beer on Pony and Mueller. How am I supposed to say I don't like this quarterback?
Like, I gave him way more credit for the Tennessee game.
Yeah, I understand.
In which what? They ended up losing that game, right? And he had the great throws late to make it close, but he threw the terrible interception.
Did we beat Tennessee?
Did we beat Tennessee? No, we lost Tennessee.
We didn't beat Tennessee?
Yeah, because he threw the interception and we were down 2 scores and the stadium emptied out.
We lost 31-29.
And then he put on a show, remember?
Are you bleeping me?
Then he made those great throws in the end zone.
Not a bleeping you.
That's a lot of beers, man. I got to stop drinking
Then
during
he scrambled to get a first down.
Yeah.
That's when Shedeur showed me something. The interception was terrible. It was probably his worst interception of the year. But then
I'm turning into old Steve Sarkisian during these Browns games. Damn, Sam, this is bad.
But so that's how when we talk about evaluating the quarterbacks, we can't just look at complete, incomplete, interception. Like a lot of times, Shedeur is in camp has just not thrown the football on time and has just kind of eaten it, and that's the end of the play. And Todd Monken gets mad. Well, it's not an interception, so that looks better, right? Well, Watson does have to figure out. Like, I do wonder what Monken's thinking when he sees Watson throw the terrible interceptions going, okay, this is in camp. What is this going to look like when these defensive coordinators get a handle on any kind of tape over the last how many years and see that he can't throw the ball over the middle of the field?
Well, it's probably going to happen what happened in the Mike Sando QB tiers. With one quarterback, I don't think anybody's going to lose sleep over. And with another quarterback, you had one defensive coordinator say he is not going to lose sleep over him. It's not very good. Not a very good situation. So, again, I have to find that balance. Because it's amazing to me that we had 3 guys on from the other 3 cities in this division. And I had 3 different answers for the worst head coach in this division. Monken was given by Tony Pike, ESPN 1530, and he basically said it's only because he has one hand tied behind his back because of his quarterback room. Zach Taylor was thrown out there by Mueller. Mike McCarthy that's a Super Bowl winner, and was thrown out there by Ken Weinman. So it's all up for grabs, and I keep going back to, am I really going to blame? What am I going to find this year? If things don't go very well, what am I going to find this year? Blame is the wrong word, Tony. What am I going to do to find real criticism of Todd Monken? Because the whole time, we're 2027, quarterback is playing in college right now. Last name on the jersey next year is going to be Moore or Manning or Sellers or whoever. Well, if I'm saying all that, am I to hammer Todd Monken for quarterback stuff every Monday after these games? There might be some other things that I have to do, but am I going to say that he handled the quarterback situation poorly, the competition poorly? Because I can't do it 2 years in a row. I do believe it was handled poorly last year. I thought it was silly how they did this in the preseason last season. But they're not doing it silly this year.
Well, so that's why I don't want people to come back and say 5 weeks in how bad it was handled when we're asking people right now, how do you think they're handling it? Last year, we were calling it very flawed in the moment. Only the homers were defending.
I don't think they're handling it poorly right now. I don't.
That's what I'm saying. If they come out and they're 1-5 and either quarterback, especially like let's say Shedeur wins it and then struggles mightily at the start of the year, mean, what are people going to be saying? Like, either way, people are not going to be happy, and they're going to go after Monken. When I think on the outside, people are going to go, you just don't have your quarterback yet. You're going to go get your quarterback and then give Todd Monken an honest chance. And then hopefully the management and the organization is standing by their guy.
Speaking of the Monken man, he had his first show as Browns head coach last night. What does he look forward to in a quarterback? Well, he'll give you that answer coming up in 5 minutes, as well as what the movie First Blood taught me about this Guardian season. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports NFL writer, joins us at 9 o'clock on The Fan.
most local sports talk in town. 92.3 The Fan, powered by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Deshaun Watson, Shador Sanders. The Browns QB battle is back. We're your home for training camp and preseason coverage. The radio home of the Cleveland Browns. 92.3 The Fan.
Lima, do you know the Munkin Man?
Do you really know anybody?
Dare I say no?
I thought I knew Joe Royer. Guess we'll never see him again for the Browns. You see they picked up a tight end yesterday? Yeah, he's done.
Yeah, I did see that.
They've just been very quiet about him. That was a draft pick.
Fifth rounder.
Won't see him no more.
Well, you either spend every living moment of your show talking about a fifth rounder, or you never speak around about a fifth rounder. There is no third direction in there.
That might be the last time we ever mention his name.
Ryan Wilson going to join us at 9 o'clock.
Come on now.
Todd Monken was on his show yesterday. Todd, how the hell are you going to play these quarterbacks on Saturday?
I anticipate each quarterback in the game they start will play a half, might play in the second half, just to get in a little bit of rhythm. You might have one drive. What are you going to do? Take them out? 2 drives, 3 drives. Love to get a 2-minute. If you take them out, they're never going to get a 2-minute, right? We got to find a way to manufacture a 2-minute if we can. I see that how much our offensive line will play against the Bears a little bit predicated on are they playing their starters? Because it's unfair to the quarterback that if they're playing their starting D-line and we sub out our O-line to really get a picture. Our 2s against their 2s, okay, fine. We got to live with that. That'll determine when our O-line comes out.
All right, Todd, what's the progression been like with all the QBs?
I think all the quarterbacks have done a great job, starting with Talon. Doesn't get a ton of reps, super smart. Thing's got a bright future. Dylan has handled it great. Really takes everything we ask of him to do from the meeting room to the field. And then you talk about Shador, who from the moment I got here till now, in terms of his drops, working through his progressions, checking the ball down, eliminating sacks, protecting the football. And I'm just talking about that part of it and throwing it. And then in the huddle, the command of the huddle, in and out of it, eliminating anxiety at the line of scrimmage for himself, really has improved. And I'm excited to see him play. They're all going to play in the preseason game. It's just a matter who starts. And then Sean's obviously played a lot of football, been in a number of systems. Early on, he was certainly going to be ahead. And that was to be expected. And I think people fail to realize that he hasn't played a lot of football the last few years. And so he is certainly capable of improving in a lot of aspects of his game, not only operation, but I think he's healthy for the first time, but then his playmaking ability, his ability to work through progressions. So I'm excited to see all of our guys play this preseason.
See, I don't think he is. I don't think he really is capable of those things. What? I'm not trying to say nasty things. I'm just being honest with everybody. Does anybody else think he is? How many times are we going to be fooled? No one's going to be fooled in this city. No. Hell, they didn't even trust him to begin with. So they don't think they're not going to be fooled. Todd Monken has to say those things because he's on his show and it's in public. Maybe Todd Monken really does feel that way. You're a coach, coach him up. Maybe that's the case. Got to get him to that point B. All those things that we like to say. I don't think anybody believes that. It's been 6 years. How many years do we have to go before he finds it again? Like sometimes it's just gone. And I think it's gone for him.
Yeah.
And you say the physical ability. Well, I don't know. He threw the ball a few times and the shoulder's starting to bother him again, according to the reports from OTAs. You say the physical ability, getting in and out. I mean, he has played a lot of football. Has he played a lot of smart football? Does he know what he's doing? Because we found out that story a couple years ago that Bill O'Brien was calling the offense. Guess who's the veteran having trouble getting in and out of the huddle under Kevin Stefanski? And now Todd Monken.
Well, it seems like everybody's having trouble getting in and out of the huddle right now with Todd Monken. And I wonder if that's just the pain of a completely new install now that down
Maybe
the
it's
road,
Todd Monken's fault. Who knows?
I don't. But I do think that it's logical. Like think of how many young or new players they have on offense. It's everybody. Who's the veteran on offense? Like that just
Harold Fannin.
That's right. That's the blueprint for a team that's going to have trouble getting in and out of the line of scrimmage. That's and out of the huddle. That's not just a Shador thing or just a Deshaun Watson thing. Like Andrew Luck could be here. He might be having trouble with that right now. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, I just question what the expectation would be at this stage. Guys, we just finished the installs at the end of last week.
I must tell you, the history with one of the quarterbacks, being Deshaun Watson, plays into my feelings about the quarterback competition. And I think that it does with a lot of people. Like, when I watch this game on Saturday, I assume he's going to start this game on Saturday. And when I watch this game, I'm not comparing him as much to I have to compare him to Shedeur Sanders to some level. I'm not comparing him as much to Shedeur Sanders as I'm comparing him to the guy that we were supposed to get, that we traded all these picks for and all that stuff again. Because I'm just telling you right now, it's going to take a lot for me to be convinced. And I think a lot of Browns fans are with me on that, going, I ain't going to be fooled again. So it's not just Shedeur he's competing against on Saturday if he were to start. It's the old Deshaun Watson. Because now we're at the end of the rope. And at one point, there was an MVP candidate. Because at one point, there were 12 other football teams or 13 other football teams that were putting in to see about his possibilities. They know that quarterbacks don't fall off of trees. So that history that we have has to play in to how I watch these QBs. Can't say evaluate. It ain't my job. It's best I can, but it's for entertainment purposes only. I can't do it the same way Todd Monken can. But I will tell you, there will be a lot more scrutiny with Deshaun Watson from me than there would be with Shedeur Sanders. That's not fair. I'm just telling you guys the truth. That 216-474-0092. Is there going to be the same way with you? Will you see Deshaun Watson differently than what you would see with Shedeur Sanders? Because I have to have a little bit more leeway with Shedeur Sanders. I want him to start. I can only tell you guys the truth about my own emotions. The other guy reminds me of a bad era of lost football for this football team.
Well, the one thing I'll just say, I know you want to get to the phones. I'll just say logically.
Empty promises.
If they started Watson, I'd be like, all right, I don't expect much, and hopefully Shedeur can come in when everything kind of maybe things get a little steadier with the offensive line. If it's the other way and Shedeur Sanders starts and doesn't play well, then I'm just going to be like, all right, looking at my watch, how many games left? And I wonder how Browns fans are going to be in that scenario.
I imagine a lot of will probably feel the same way you do. Jeffrey in Cleveland, hello.
Yeah, I think the guys, I think that Todd, I think that coach has seen something in Deshaun that he hasn't seen before. This is his first time seeing it. He never seen it in no one else but Shedeur, and I think that Shedeur is going to be the starting quarterback Saturday.
All right, Jeffrey, thank you very much for the call. Dan in Columbus, you're next up on the Fan.
Morning.
Morning, Dan.
Deshaun will start the first two games. Haslam and Barry want to go back in time and prove that they made the right decision, and they think that somehow he will beat Baker after starting 0-2, being embarrassed by Baker, and their mistake coming back to haunt them. There's no way they can start him Game 3. Shedeur takes over at home in Cleveland, and hopefully takes us on a little run.
Do you think that Deshaun can beat Baker Mayfield?
Absolutely not.
Well, then why would they?
Why did they do this in the first place?
That was 4 years ago, though. I mean, you got to learn your lesson at some point, don't they?
If they learned their lesson, he would not be getting any of these reps. Just let Shedeur and Dillon 1 and 2, and I mean, the money's already spent. You can't bring that guy into Cleveland. I'm a perfect example. I had season tickets from '99. The day I canceled was the day they signed Deshaun Watson. That was for moral reasons, but it's a disaster. It's been a disaster. Just to end the disaster.
I mean, I thought they would last year. I really did. And then, obviously things haven't gone the way they wanted it to go. But I hope it's not for that way, because they have been a team that's shown us that they have they have overcorrected previous mistakes that they have made in the past.
Every rep they give Deshaun is robbing Shedeur and Dillon and Green. Just cut bait.
It's crazy because, Dan, you hit on a point here. Thank you for the call. How good does Deshaun Watson have to be this year for anybody to really want him back in 2027?
I think they'd have to go to the AFC Championship game. And he'd have to look good doing it.
He could go to the AFC Championship game, and I would still talk about drafting a quarterback in the first round.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I'll just put him on the tag.
other side of 30.
Yeah, I'm not. Who's signing him to a long deal?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, think about that. Like the other two, hey, there's understanding. Young, mid to late round picks. This guy, I mean, honestly, what does he have to do for Browns fans to turn around and say, you know what, we'll keep him? It'd have to be AFC Championship, Super Bowl, and that is not realistic.
I just wonder if...
So a guy like Dan is justified.
This
Absolutely.
is the downside for fans of hiring Monken. Had it have been Shielhouse or Uglizzi, then...
Yadinsky.
Uglizzi, wasn't it? The one that sounds like the hot dog?
This is
Or
the
beef
jokes
jerky?
get better as the show goes on because we only got an hour left.
Bad jokes, Yadinsky.
I thought for sure, had they have hired those guys, they just would have played the kid. Monken is like trying to prove himself and trying to win right now. And he continues, according to what we've heard, he thinks there's a higher ceiling, and he's a coach. A coach always thinks he's going to be able to get his players to that ceiling because they have confidence in themselves.
Okay, coming up at 9 o'clock, Ryan Wilson going to join us on the show. Well, what else is there to say, Owen? I think everybody agrees with me on that. We'll see if Ryan thinks that he can reach that ceiling or closer to that ceiling than what Shedeur Sanders can. Ryan Wilson joins us in 5. And, yes, with the movie First Blood, should teach me about the Guardians season, according to all you guys. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on the Fan.
9 with runners in scoring position, left 11 runners on base. Want to catch highlights from the Fan from earlier today? Get over to 923thefan.com or favorite 923 The Fan on the Odyssey app for all today's headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 923 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Talk sports deep into the Cleveland night. Overtime with Jake Volnick. Weeknights at 7. Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Another practice today. Are they going to ask about these blisters you were reading about? Shador's got blisters.
I mean, it seems like we were debating whether that's a legitimate injury or not, but it definitely could cause you to lose the spiral.
It affects your ball. And there's no way it doesn't affect your ball.
Before anybody yells at us, Shador's own people now, I've seen multiple of the biggest Shadorians nationally. They have admitted he's been throwing ducks.
Now, don't say that term. Do they like that term or do they don't like that term?
I thought they called themselves that.
Well, the Baker fans did not like Baker, bro. We put a moratorium on that word. And then later on in life, I get accused of making it up and go, nope, that was the thin guy. I'm the fat guy. Ryan Wilson, he joins us. I think he's moderately sized.
The chubby guy on the right is just scared to death.
When he was saying that, you're sure as hell right, Jason Whitlock. I was terrified at that moment. Well, he's on the Wise Heart Right. We make a right call, Kyle Right hotline. This is Ryan Wilson joining us on the show. Hello, Ryan.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Is a blister, let's ask a guy who's been around the NFL a whole bunch. The blisters, that's a legitimate thing for a quarterback, right?
I guess. You don't hear it often, though, right? Maybe.
Well, usually it's baseball. Usually it's pitchers.
Right. Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking, and I don't recall a lot of issues with blisters with quarterbacks because, again, I mean, the baseball thing is just the friction. The ball's smaller and you're throwing it harder. So I suppose it's a thing. I will say this, though, after watching Shador for 2 years at Colorado and going to that pro day a couple of years ago, he's never thrown Dan Marino spirals. Like that was never really what his game was about anyway. So I don't know if it's worse now than it was in seasons past, but I wasn't expecting him to come out there and spin it like he's Josh Allen.
I really do believe here, Ryan, that there are two different answers. I think there's what everybody else wants to see. I'd say the vast majority of fans want to see Shador Sanders start the season. And I think that's media, everybody. But I think that realistically, Todd Monken's got a job to do, and he might just go ahead and have to select the veteran in Deshaun Watson. What do you think?
No, I think you're right about what Todd's going to do. And Todd doesn't strike me as someone as sort of a grizzled, old-timey coach, if you will, who's going to succumb to peer pressure or social media pressure or whatever. I would imagine he doesn't spend a lot of time on social media. But he also is a pretty competitive guy and is all about winning, and we've seen him at various stops. He can handle young players, but he also comes from an era where tough love might be the answer. So whether that's Deshaun or Shador, I think it doesn't really matter in the short term for the organization. I think it matters for Shador and find out whether he is anything more than a one-year stopgap, because I've been saying this since the draft, and I think Andrew Berry's done a great job the last two drafts. But if you took this team, I probably told you guys this too, you put them in Houston and gave them C.J. Stroud, they're winning 10 or 11 games. Like the team on paper is great outside of the most important position. So whether Deshaun gets you to 6 or 7 or 8 wins or Shador does, I think one of those guys is going to have to play out of their minds to keep the job beyond 2026.
Wait, the Browns are good enough to do that, you're saying? Well, outside of QB?
If they had a quarterback, I think. If you told me C.J. Stroud was their quarterback, I think they're in the mix to win the division. Or not C.J. Stroud. Yeah, C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. Yeah, that's fine.
So you're a believer in the Browns' totally rebuild offensive line?
Yeah, I think they're going to be better. But, yeah, look, young guys are a reason for concern. We don't know where Spencer Fano is going to look like. He hasn't played left tackle for a couple of years. I like the edge with which he's playing and all the things we talk about in terms of the storylines coming out of training camp line. But right, we'll find out. We'll find out right quick what it looks like. But the skill position players are really good. The defense is still going to be really good. They lost Jim Schwartz. That's a big deal. And obviously trading Myles Garrett for Jared Verse is going to be a downgrade, but I don't think as huge a one as the team still wasn't very good last year with Myles Garrett. So I think they are. And I think the wide receivers, the young wide receivers, are going to be a lot of fun early on. I think they're a quarterback away from sort of putting this thing together and being competitive, consistently competitive in the AFC North.
That actually makes the season more frustrating to me.
Why is that?
Because I don't want them to lose. You know, it's just bad. It's like, okay, if you're always focused on them losing for the future, when are we actually going to get that future? Because there's been plenty, as Lima said many times over, Ryan, like it doesn't take a very smart man to tear a football team down, but it takes some smarts to build them up. And I think we just always want to take the path of least resistance, and maybe rightfully so. But I just am so tired of always looking forward to the future. But I've accepted the reality of this. If they thought they had a look at any of this, they don't trade Myles Garrett. Like the Rams didn't trade for him just to get to mediocre. Okay? So I know that I got to get to that guy, and now I'm going to find myself, and you cover all these quarterbacks, I may find myself prematurely, because I don't want to do it this soon, but I have to watch Texas and Ohio State like a hawk, because that could end up being the next Browns quarterback, one of those two guys. I got to watch some of these bigger college football games, Ohio State, Oregon later on in the year, when it might be a little bit more appropriate, because who knows what the Browns will be done by then, but we'll see. It might be a little more appropriate for it, but I don't want to sit and spend a whole season focused on the future quarterback that's in college, but I feel I'm going to have to.
So are you and Lima of the opinion that the Browns are just a quarterback away from being consistently competitive in the North?
I got to feel better about the offensive line. I got to see him. I want to be there. Enough. I'm excited. You know, I'm an excitable person, but I can't. I just can't get there yet. I think that there are some good young players. The depth in the secondary scares me. You got some big names there that I can trust, but behind them, you got a lot of inexperience there. I still think we're paying for the 3 first-round picks that we missed because of Deshaun Watson's terrible contract and deal and everything. We are still a little bit away. But I do think that if you go out and you get that quarterback next year, all of a sudden all these things look a hell of a lot better. I mean, good God, look at what Joe Burrow was able to cover up while he was healthy.
Yeah, and it's not even exaggeration to say Joe Burrow's worth 2.5 to 3 wins a year, probably more than maybe any other quarterback, Josh Allen maybe. But, yeah, he's incredibly important because that team absolutely sinks when he's not there, because every other position, especially on defense, has huge questions, offensive line as well. And that's fair. I mean, Lima and you both bring up a good point about the offensive line outside of sort of the young guy they drafted. But I just feel on the outside looking in, and it's unfair for me to probably say it's not all doom and gloom when you've had to live through it for however many years, but it does feel like they're turning the corner. But again, every word that leaves my mouth, I follow it by saying, I know you guys don't want to hear that for the 15th time.
Ryan Wilson with us. Every year I feel like there are 15 new wide receivers that are exciting in the NFL, and I'm always like, why can't the Browns get some of those guys? They might have gotten 2 of them this year, in addition to getting Harold Fannin, the tight end, who certainly is another very solid pass catcher. So I know early signs are good. Do you think it'll play out that way, that the Browns got 2 really good ones?
Yeah, I like both KC and Denzel coming out, and I thought that Denzel should have probably made his way into the first round. I think they got him at 39. The happiest person on that roster should be Jerry Jeudy, because now he doesn't have to do everything, and I don't know if he was a legitimate number one compared to other number ones around the league. So you have sort of a wide receiver group by committee, and if KC, who's played a lot of football, and Denzel, who's played a lot of football, can step up in their various roles, KC does most of his damage in the slot, and Denzel's a big outside target. I think it makes life easier for whoever that quarterback's going to be. And you mentioned Harold Fannin Jr., who was the 3rd-round pick, who was so much fun last year and got better as a blocker as the season went on. So I do think there's reasons for optimism. Again, I have to give it when I say it, but they have some good players, man. And I think that, like I mentioned, Andrew Berry's done a good job. And I know Todd Monken wasn't the sexy hire. Sometimes fans want whoever's next off the Shanahan or McVay tree, but I think he was the right hire, and he has a track record of getting the most out of quarterbacks, both young and old.
You host a show with a former general manager. You talk to a lot of general managers, current and former. Ryan Wilson, by the way, joining us, CBS Sports NFL writer. Do you believe the prevailing thought is that Andrew Berry has been so much better now that he's gotten away from Paul DePodesta?
That I don't know, and I haven't really talked to anyone about that. And you guys would know better than me sort of the inner workings of the front office when Paul was there. The last I read about Paul is when he left. I think he joined the Rockies, and I was just reading the Athletic story about sort of what he did and did not take responsibility for, going back to Deshaun, I believe. So I don't have any real sense on that. And having talked to Andrew a couple times, obviously incredibly smart, and I think people undersell his his demeanor as not being a hard-edged guy, as sort of not take as I don't know how to kind of put this, as not being sort of the rah-rah guy that perhaps the Browns think they need. But I think he's pushing all the right buttons. He's incredibly calculating in terms of what he's doing and finding the right ways to get that roster where it needs to be. Now, look, I've talked to plenty of Browns fans, as you have, who aren't crazy about the direction of the organization. I understand that. But I don't have any real sense for the Paul-Andrew dynamic, though, just having spoken to Andrew a few times, I don't get the sense that he would be willing to lay down and just let Paul do whatever he wanted.
Well, boy, that's been an age-old question. I'm curious, when it comes to the Browns' defense, after losing Myles Garrett, there's still a bunch of fans here locally that expect a top-5 defense. Is that an unreal expectation, given we just lost one of the best defensive players the last 30 years?
Yeah, and, one of the bigger issues might be losing the defensive coordinator, because I think the drop-off from Myles to Jared, there's a gulf there, but Jared's only 25, and he is a high-end player. He's going to get better. So I think you can make up for some of the loss of Myles Garrett. I do wonder, I want to see what Rutenberg's system looks like post-Jim Schwartz, because Jim Schwartz has historically done a fantastic job wherever he's landed as a defensive coordinator. So that's probably my biggest issue. I know you guys mentioned the secondary concerns, but again, going back to the draft, Carson Schlesinger, who I didn't think would be as good as he was going to be, fantastic football player. Mason Graham very quietly had a good rookie season, I thought. So I think they can be above average, top 75th percentile in terms of where they rank in the AFC among defenses, and they probably are still going to be the best unit in the AFC North. We'll see what Jesse Minter does with the Ravens. The Steelers are older, and we don't know about the Ravens. They signed everyone and their brother in free agency. We'll see if that changes anything. But I think this unit's going to be asked to do a lot to help out the quarterback as they sort of figure that thing out over the first month of the season. I just don't know if they're going to be as good as they were last year.
J.J. McCarthy's going to start the season on the bench up in Minnesota. Can he be resurrected?
I just wrote about this yesterday after it happened, and very rarely has a quarterback that's been drafted that high been benched after just 10 starts. He'll get another chance. The issue becomes, where's that chance, and how long is the leash at his next opportunity? I think he has a better chance to resurrect this career than Anthony Richardson, but that's as low a bar as you can get. So this feels more like Kenny Pickett's career path post-Pittsburgh than it does like Sam Darnold. But it took Sam Darnold 4 years to get out of New York, and then a couple more stops before he found his way to Minnesota. So never say never, but the history is not kind to guys like JJ and Anthony Richardson.
Well, I've seen the screenshot. J.J. McCarthy, bench, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Dylan Gabriel, Anthony Richardson, Kenny Pickett, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Will Levis. The NFL has a QB developmental problem. I saw that making the rounds. Is that what it is, or is it just a really tough league, and no matter what, guys are going to get benched because this is not a science on drafting quarterbacks and evaluating quarterbacks?
Yeah, man, it's such an incredibly difficult position to play. And I think a lot of it, Lima, physically, these guys aren't very far apart when you put them on a scale compared to everyone on planet Earth. The issue is above the neck, and I think that's what separates guys who make it from guys who don't. We talked to J.J. McCarthy at the Combine, and I remember thinking, man, this guy is so charismatic. But I also remember thinking there were some questions about, is he trying too hard to say what people want him to say in these interviews? And then you go back and watch him. I mean, you don't have to be an expert. You guys saw the same Michigan games I saw when they won the national title. He was not asked to do a lot. So to take him that high, you're putting a lot of pressure on a young man already who has not been hasn't seen what Carson Beck, for example, saw in college when he was run out of Georgia and had to sort of find himself down in Miami. And who knows if Carson Beck's going to be decent, but he was also just a third-round pick. So I think number one, the position is so hard to play. One of the toughest positions in any sport. And then if you're not right above the neck, and there are any number of reasons why you could struggle with that, I think it doesn't matter how far you can throw a football. Everything else goes out the window. You're not going to have a chance.
If Deshaun Watson start, what does he have to do to come back in 2027 to the Cleveland Browns?
He's got to look a lot like he looked during his prime in Houston. And that, to me,
6 years ago?
I think – right, exactly. I think J.J. McCarthy has a better chance of being a starter in the league full-time than that happening. Why would you bring him back if he's 50% of him at his best? For what?
I don't. I wish I could tell you. Other than he's the veteran, and you have a veteran first year, but a veteran coach that mean, he has to win as soon as he possibly can. So if one guy's just slightly better at getting him in and out of the huddle, I know people are going, what does that mean? It means getting the play out to guys, knowing the snap, knowing all the pre-snap stuff, knowing where guys are supposed to go. If a guy's supposed to go in motion, telling him to get his ass in motion. Like these are things that are really important that Todd Monken needs to trust him for. And if he trusts Deshaun Watson slightly better than the other guy, he's got to make that decision.
That I agree with, but I mean beyond 2026, I'm putting all my chips in on whoever the quarterback they end up loving after the college football season. Unless, like I said, Deshaun plays like he's hair on fire, Houston Texans' best version of himself. And again, would you say 6 years? I think that ship has long since sailed. So if it's incrementally better, Deshaun over Shedeur, sure, roll with it for 2026 and win some football games. That tells you what you need to know about Shedeur going forward as well. And I always ask you guys, I just suppose Dylan's the placeholder now, like we're not letting him do anything else but hold for snaps.
I want to know real quick. Owen, you might need to get it ready. Power rank your top 3 quarterbacks as of August 12th for the 2027 draft. Don't beat me for this. Please, Cleveland, don't.
Yeah. Dante Moore. Then I'm going to go Arch just because production, high-end last name. And then I'm gonna go Julian Sayers. I think Julian Sayers is going to have a really good year. He wasn't asked to do a lot last year, but when he was asked to do it, he did it at a high level. So those are my top 3 right now.
We'll have to clear that schedule for week 2 of the Buckeye season against Texas. All right, Ryan, thank you very much for the time. All the best to you and yours.
Thank you, guys.
The glorious Ryan Wilson. Find him on Twitter, at Ryan Wilson CBS. He's on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. We asked Ryan a pointed question there. I don't think it's a developmental problem. Not in the NFL when it comes to quarterbacks anyway. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on The Fan.
He's got to look a lot like he looked during his prime in Houston.
6 years ago?
Exactly. I think J.J. McCarthy has a better chance of being a starter full-time than that happen. Why would you bring him back and use 50% of him at his best? For what?
Ryan Wilson, CBS, he gave us a little bit of hope right there. I mean, he thinks we're a quarterback away. I think a lot of teams, though, are a quarterback away because Houston's competitive. Now, Houston could do some special things this year, but, C.J. Stroud was certainly under the microscope last year by the assembled media. So, if you had C.J. Stroud, you'd have a quarterback that's under the microscope, but you'd be in a hell of a lot better position than what we're in right now. Well, I see where Ryan's coming from on that.
And social media reactions brought to you by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. Keith in Avon Lake immediately said, if Ryan thinks this is a 10 or 11 win team, why did Andrew Berry not get aggressive with finding a veteran quarterback that can help them win immediately?
Okay.
So they don't think they're a 10 or 11 win team.
I don't think they're a 10 or 11 win team unless you have Mahomes or Allen. I haven't seen the offensive line play yet. I'm sorry, I can't make that declaration.
Well, let me ask you, even with Joe Flacco, if you thought you were a 10 or 11 win team, then adding just a veteran quarterback, then why wouldn't you go get somebody who can actually win games?
I think Ryan thinks they're a 10 or 11 win team. I don't think the Browns do. And I really don't think lots of Browns fans do.
I've seen a lot of fans say kind of the same thing, that we're...
Is it because it's August and we're less than a month away from the season?
Probably. At the afternoon show. I mean, the afternoon show, they've said they think this team can win 7, 8, 9. I've even heard up to 10 when they get really optimistic. Well, if they thought they could do that with Shedeur Sanders this year,
it's not the hardest schedule in the world.
Yeah, that's part of it.
All right, fine. But again, you appear on other team schedules, and they don't think that you're the hardest.
Oh, they're
team
all calling the Browns an instant W.
Exactly. So as much hope as we have for the teams that we play, you got to remember how they feel about us. I don't know what the offensive line is going to be. The depth in the secondary is not good. Like we are going through a roster transition. Like say we lived in an alternate universe and everybody calmed down and we didn't do silly, crazy things when it came to Baker Mayfield. Both parties. Say Baker just had surgery. We'll see you in 2022. He'd be going through this. We would be think about an alternate universe, Tone. We'd be very critical of Baker Mayfield. We'd be going, when are you going to get over the hump? When are you going to get us to the promised land? All those things, because he'd be going through a roster change. This team is going through what a franchise quarterback would go through with a roster change. Look at what's going on in Kansas City. Look at what's happened already in Buffalo. If I look at the roster right now, you just got yourself wide receivers. Now, you would have got probably another wide receiver had you had your 3 first-round picks. All right, that's fair. You would have got another offensive lineman had you had your 3 first-round picks. Also fair. But I still don't think that there's still things that you would have to work at that you would be prohibited because you would have Baker Mayfield signed to a rather large contract. So your offensive line might have a few problems going into this year, like they have large problems or questions going into this year as well. You have a secondary that, again, does not have a lot of depth. You have a linebacker room that doesn't have a lot of depth. Yes, you could have still had Baker Mayfield and drafted Carson Schlesinger in the second round last year, but you still look after him. Schlesinger, Quincy Williams, I believe in those guys. If it's a 2-linebacker system, you're looking at Julian Okwara, Winston Reed, who's a hell of a special teams guy. I'm a fan of Big Hit Win. But do you trust him there if Carson Schlesinger gets hurt? Probably not. Your defensive line, yeah, there seems to be some depth there. Okay, we can mark that one off the list. But you see, you got one tight end you trust right now. You mentioned Joe Royer at the end of the 8 o'clock hour, and I couldn't even speak. I was shocked you mentioned his name. So I love Ryan. But 10, 11 wins, some things would have to break for you, even if you had C.J. Stroud, because you're going through a roster transition. You just don't have the QB. It's not Bear. It's not 16-17, where basically none of these guys, with the exception of a couple of offensive linemen, can hack it. No offense to some of the guys who are in that secondary who still live in the area. I'm sorry, guys. It's not those years. I think we're certainly closer than what we were at those times, but we're still pretty far away, and we're going to need another draft, and you're going to have that quarterback. You're going to have to go through those growing pains with him. And they're going to need another draft, and then you're going to have to hope that guys stay healthy. And so you're looking at a head coach who's in his first year right now who's 60. You're looking at 63, 64 by the time you really get going, and you're considered a contender year in, year out. That, okay, the Browns aren't going anywhere. This isn't flash in the pan. Because what is it, 4 new playoff teams make it every year?
Every year,
yeah. You got to go to it a couple times before we get to that level. So that's where I think the Browns are. I love Ryan. I respect Ryan like crazy. I just don't agree with him on, well, we're 11 wins. We're a quarterback away from 11 wins. It was something I think I do want to agree with him on. Ryan Wilson, he was asked by you, that Sam Block post came out yesterday where it was all these QBs that have been benched who were more than likely rather high picks. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but you had named them. And he mentioned that there's a development problem in the NFL with quarterbacks. Well, we asked Ryan that question. Here's Ryan's answer.
It's such an incredibly difficult position to play. And I think a lot of it, Lima, physically, these guys aren't very far apart when you put them on a scale compared to everyone on planet Earth. The issue is above the neck. And I think that's what separates guys who make it from guys who don't. We talked to J.J. McCarthy at the Combine, and I remember thinking, man, this guy is so charismatic. But I also remember thinking there were some questions about, is he trying too hard to say what people want him to say in these interviews? And then you go back and watch him. I mean, you don't have to be an expert. You guys saw the same Michigan games I saw when they won the national title. He was not asked to do a lot. So to take him that high, you're putting a lot of pressure on a young man already who hasn't seen what Carson Beck saw in college.
I think that there's always going to be like, can you develop him? If you can't develop him, then what do you do? I just don't think they have enough time with him in the NFL. You know, that's part of it.
It's not a developmental league. That's why, when it comes to quarterbacks, that's why when we get to stories such as Baker Mayfield falling apart and then getting rebuilt, Sam Darnold falling apart and getting rebuilt, we're shocked. We're not used to seeing those stories at all. And I know, McVay's been given credit for some of that. Shanahan's been given credit for some of that. But it really doesn't happen that often in the NFL.
Well, it's because by the time you get to the NFL, most of the work is on you. Like it used to be hey, you bring him in for camp, you spend 2 months in camp, you play 6 preseason games, you had to get guys into shape. Now everything's on you. Well, if you're with your quarterback coach in the NFL, well, you go away from him. There's actually a dead period in the NFL. You remember when was it Kevin and Deshaun got together and they had to say publicly, not that it was necessarily the truth. Oh, we didn't talk football because you're not allowed, courtesy of the CBA.
Oh, that was a good one, yeah.
You don't get as much time with these guys. So the development, to me, it happens in college.
And I look at these players.
And you don't have a lot of time with these guys in college because you have a transfer portal. And how am I supposed to tell any of these guys to turn down money? I'm in no position to do that.
Yeah, when you look at where these guys were drafted, so many of them on the list. J.J. McCarthy went, 10th overall. Zach Wilson, number 2 overall. Dylan Gabriel was a top 100, which shocked us all. Anthony Richardson, 4th overall. Kenny Pickett, first rounder, 20th overall.
First one in that draft, too.
Guys, I don't think this Trey Lance, 3rd overall. That was in Cleveland. I think during COVID.
I feel better that I had questions about all these guys coming out of the draft, but I question everybody because you guys say I'm a great big sissy when it comes to drafting quarterbacks.
Mac Jones, 15th overall. Will Levis, 33rd overall. What do they have in common? I think universally they were all overdrafted. We said that at the time. This isn't, no, we saw him play in the NFL and then determined we were overdrafted. Because what do we say about the NFL draft? The quarterbacks are all getting overdrafted across the board because you have to take a shot at them or they're gone. So I don't even blame the teams for overdrafting these quarterbacks because if you don't draft them, then you don't have a chance to begin with. Then you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you punt to next year, and you don't know where you're going to be in the draft the following year.
Totally agree. So, what will desperation do to you? And I hate to say it because now I have to admit it, and I've been fighting it my entire career. What's the best way to remove that desperation? Losing and drafting at the top of the draft. Because you could look at it and go, hey, so-and-so didn't work out. He was the number 1 pick. Everybody thought he was going to be the number 1 pick. Like if you take Dante Moore, number 1 overall, I'm sure he'll have a fine season. Dante Moore goes out there, has a cat's ass of a season. I understand that there's another quarterback who comes from the royal family. That's going to be a fight, but just go with me on this. Dante Moore goes number 1 overall, or is in a position to be number 1 overall. You have the number 1 pick. I can't fight you for doing that, but I could look back and go, what the hell was Tennessee doing taking Will Levis in the 2nd round? You mentioned, what the hell was the Patriots doing with Mac Jones?
Yeah.
Now, I still think that Mac Jones, that was kind of nurture over nature because of Belichick and Patricia and that whole thing, making him run the offense. But Well, at least it didn't help. I wasn't thrilled about him coming out of college, but it certainly didn't help Mac Jones. I'm a little defensive of him over that. Like, I think you're right about that. Desperation makes you think things that aren't really there. It makes you, we look at it in our own relationships. He's desperate. You fell in love with somebody that you weren't really in love with, and you do that in quarterbacks. Why? Because, you're desperate. You don't want to lose your job.
We see that in the NBA all the time is guys are taken because of traits, and nobody's a finished product in college, but you see guys taken, and that'll the Anthony Bennett one will always get brought up, but there's so many every year. Guys that get taken in the first round over traits. Well, yeah, it's because you're projecting and you're hoping you can develop differences in the NBA. You've got time with these players to work on their games every day and get them with different coaches. And NFL, you don't have that time. I mean, getting everybody together for an 11-on drill is kind of a big coming together. And you only have so many of those reps during how much time?
You have 11 guys with families, and they have their own time that they deal precious. And you got veterans there. It's like, hey, I can't make it. We're going to Disney with the family. It ain't going to happen.
How do you simulate an NFL game? Basketball's easy. It's easy. Just roll the balls out and get guys in some runs, and they'll meet together on their own time, and then there's really not that big of a departure between that and regular season basketball. NFL is a different story. So, yeah, you could say they're not developing these guys. They're also overdrafting the quarterbacks, and they're going to do that forever because it's the most important position. And when you get a guy, you could be good for a decade.
I draft that QB in late April. He comes to me about a week or 2 weeks later in rookie minicamp. We go away. We come back for OTAs. You get 3 days with him or 4 days with him a week during that. And then you get ready for training camp. You got to hit the ground running. So a guy who was just in college it's August, 4 months ago. This guy was coming out of college. Now he's got to lead a franchise, Fernando Mendoza.
And when Louis Riddick says there's no time for traditional competition at the NFL level, teams have to get people ready to play, and reps are scarce.
And
ding, 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 ding.
But I think if you go back, also the game has changed. It's become more and more a quarterback game now. You have years where guys run it more out of necessity because you got your tasked with winning football games, not just developing guys. So you have to go out and win football games. So there's years where you run the ball more. We saw the rebirth of the running back a couple of years ago. Yet when we have quarterbacks, the game has become more tailored to quarterbacks, more of a passing league. The rules go towards quarterbacks, so you would want to be able to throw the ball a little bit more. Well, yeah, we had more guys that we think were really, really, really great quarterbacks in the 80s and 90s that might not fare so great in 2026 because the league is different. Now, some of these guys, Marino, Kelly, you know the ones, they would probably flourish like crazy in this era of football. But in that era of football, there's probably some guys that we maybe even overrate in that 90s era quarterbacks that my generation remembers so well. Coming up in 5 minutes, what the movie First Blood, according to you guys, needs to teach me about this Guardians season. Window Nation.
Staples, where school supplies start at just 25 cents. Staples. That was easy. Visit your local Staples today or shop online and in the app. Ends 9/12. Exclusions apply.
Leave the garage door open and turn up the fan. Spend the summer with your home for Cleveland Sports Talk. 92.3 The Fan.
You have spoken, and I refuse to accept reality. And also does Anthony, for that matter. Should have learned it. I've seen the movie First Blood more than once, less than 1,000 times. The lesson was right there.
It's over, Johnny.
Nothing is over! Nothing!
Indeed it was. And you guys believe that the Guardian season is over, and I just want to say, well, it's not over. You see, they came back from 15 down last year, and you guys don't believe that? No. You feel that this is a different season. It's a different team. You've had 10 or 11 guys up. And Chase DeLauder had said something yesterday in media availability. Brought up the pressing with runners in scoring position. See, it's the exact thing. Do we have the clip? Oh, here is CDL on runners in scoring position.
I think by not making it a big deal, at the end of the day, to me, it's the same thing as nobody on as far as taking the same swing. Obviously, you run on third less than two. That's a different story. But you get a guy in scoring position. I mean, kind of up there trying to get a pitch in the zone and try to put your best swing on it. I mean, no one's going to hate you if you do that. I think we get a little tight. I think we start to press. I mean, I'm one that does the exact same thing. I kind of chase a little more and maybe hit some things just because I can hit them instead of getting my pitch. That's just part of it.
Historically, they've had a young team. Should I hate them or should I be surprised that they're doing what young teams usually do? Because usually they've been able to push across just enough runs with runners in scoring position to get them to the postseason, even get to the ALDS or ALCS. And 2016, there was more veterans on that club, so I can't really claim that. But they've been able to do that, Tone. So maybe they're just coming back down to reality here instead of this standard that we've created for them. And maybe a lot of Guardians fans see it, and I didn't see it and don't want to see it, and I'm refusing to accept reality here, Anthony.
Yeah, again, I look at the lineup last night. A boatload of these guys were not here at the start of the year. And I know we've gotten used to that as Guardian fans, but this year it's on almost an entirely new level because of what they did at the trade deadline, too, that we were excited about. So it's tough to sit here and talk about an identity when they are a different team than the one that came back last year from 15 and a half down in the month of July. And so even though they're closer to first place than they were at this time last year, their record is worse, and they don't really have any of the metrics that make you think this team not only can make a run over the last 42 games, but can also do damage in the postseason. Yeah. And that's what's hard, because at least those other teams, as much as we hated and had to hide and close our eyes at times, guards ball was a real thing. We hated it. We hated having to manufacture runs. But now this team can't even manufacture runs.
Well, at one point,
leaving them on the bases time and time again. They were 0 for 9 last night, runners in scoring position.
At one point last year, it felt like we were making up names to make ourselves feel better about a baseball team that can't really compete with the big boys there. That's why the whole guards ball thing, was met with some ridicule last year. Now they were able to get into the postseason last season, but you understand, you still have the same issues that you had before. You're just not hitting them. And when Chase DeLauder's talking about it, usually young guys. Now, some young guys, they don't respond to pressure negatively because either they're too young and naive, they just don't care, whatever it might be. They're able to respond to pressure in a positive way no matter what. But usually, young guys in pressure-packed situations don't respond very well, which goes right with what I was saying with Jose Ramirez. No, he's not a young guy not responding, but when you have one guy who has had to carry the organization and the lineup for so many years, you put more pressure on him, and he's got to perform because he knows that everybody else is going to be up there pressing and struggling. And Chase DeLauder, that's a very valid point of what he just said. I think he's speaking and he's telling the truth for everybody up there. I mean, how many did they leave on yesterday, you said? Was it
9
runners in scoring position?
9, but they've had way worse than that.
The one, there was 40. In the one series, wasn't it the Mets series? There were 40?
They, and they're losing games when they have more hits and more on base. And they're one of the least clutch teams in baseball this year by the numbers. So that's going to be really hard for a team like this to overcome when the bullpen is struggling the way they are.
Has luck been overwhelming over the last couple of years, and we just haven't wanted to see it? To have this many new names, because, Owen, you and I talked about it. This ain't the first and it ain't the last season that they've started the year with completely different names than what they finished the year with in their starting lineup on opening day. And you call up this many guys to play in this big a role for you, you're going to have some guys who struggle. Some of this maybe should be expected.
Well, and the worst part about this is finally Stephen Kwan found something. And not only has found something, he has a chance to finish out the year with decent numbers, which is crazy considering how bad he was for what?
$30 million contract. Let's go.
First 3 months of the year. And it's coincided with Jose just having an abysmal season all the way around.
Well, that's a hamate bone problem. At least he won't have the hook in the hamate bone ever again.
I know. It's unfortunate, though. In September, he turns 34, and you're paying him for another, 5 years?
Yeah, but he's hookless. But he's hookless. So as long as there's no more hooks to deal with, then we should be okay. Going into next year, which is probably going to be a strike-shortened season. Damn it. All right, fine. I mean, last week we were celebrating these moves. We were so excited at these moves.
I know.
I didn't think they were going to make any moves at all. They made these moves, and now here we are a week later, and I got people saying we're lying to ourselves about the season being over. Holy potatoes. What a week changes things. And I'm hesitant to do it because of their history, because they have been able to come back before and make the postseason, because of their division, I'm hesitant to it, and because, the Guardians, they pay attention to those sort of things. They love to rub your nose in it because they have been more successful than others. Dustin Fox found out. Paul Hoynes found out. And, maybe one of the pitchers' dads might come after me on social media again.
It's happened before.
For, being a Guardians/Indians fan my entire life. And not feeling too great about how the things were going last week. And by the way, they're going even worse this week. So what are I going to get attacked again this week? Find out. Are they going to ask Todd Monken about the blisters today?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm guessing they will.
All right.
Will he be blistered with questions?
There'll be blistering.
Well
Absolutely.
Said. Back tomorrow. Mary Kay, she might be the person to ask that question. She'll join us tomorrow at 8:20. Hell of a time. We're going to have a hell of a time with Mary Kay. Getting you ready for the first preseason game.
That's coming up, sneaking up on us.
Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m., your flagship home for Cleveland Browns football, 92.3 The Fan. Big thanks to Ryan Wilson, who joined us from CBS Sports, Tony Pike, Ken Wyman, Chris Muller, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. We went around the AFC North. We're back tomorrow 6 to 10. For Big Country, for Jeff, for John, for the Slippery Wizard, Anthony Lima, I'm Ken Carman. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Please, go Guardians. I guess I have to say, save your season tonight.